Alright, hello everyone. Oh wait, hold on, I need to be in 1 second. I'm being all slow here. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm up. Great. So, they're getting started a few minutes early. I am Johnson. I'm commentating the match here between McWaffle and Antconnected. Antconnected. And this is, I believe, H League. So that was a bit of a last-minute addition here to the commentary, which is fine. I don't mind doing some commentary. What do we have here? Well, this board looks like... Are they... Doesn't really matter who was first, right? I think it's game one. Alright, whatever. Ambassador is going to be good. Silk Merchant's going to be good. So you have draw with Silk Merchants and Fishing Villages. You have thinning with Ambassador. And then you have goons doing some goon stuff. I guess you also have knights, so knights are a little annoying. There's like a little bit of interplay between all of the various things going on here. I assume you do want to get knights at some point, because killing like fishing villages and goons and everything is going to be pretty brutal. I think the first goal though is just to win the Ambassador War. So I would, on this board, I would absolutely open just like Silk Merchant Ambassador. They're opening Potion. I don't think Apothecary is going to be necessarily. Yeah, JNails agrees that Silk Merchant is the open. Like Apothecary, I think it's better just to get rid of your coppers than try to draw them with Apothecary, which is just Ambassador stuff. So, yeah, I mean, Natalie's a pretty solid knight. Natalie is probably one of the best knights you could probably get on this board. So if I hit 5 early, I would definitely take Natalie. They're opening Fishing Village Potion. I mean, if you're looking for Apothecaries, that's fine. Let's see if anyone actually takes an Ambassador here. Yep, Silk Merchant. Silk Merchant is a really good card. Without goons, it would look money-ish. Yeah, that's reasonable, but goons exists, so what are you gonna do? You're gonna do goons. Yeah, like the knight stack won't really do much against the big money deck here. You'll just be flooded with silvers, so like whatever. Lose a silver here and there, not a big deal. So I could see trying to play money-ish in that sort of deck. But goons is goons, and it's a bunch of points, and the attack is not nothing. So McWaffle gets the Apothecary, Ant gets the Silk Merchant, McWaffle is playing with silvers. So it looks like McWaffle is playing this more money-ish looking, which is fine. Although if you're going to play this money-ish, I don't think you'd get Apothecary. Like, I don't think Apothecary does enough in the money deck to be all that exciting. Here, Antconnected could pick a Goons. I think Natalie is also fine. I might take Natalie before Goons actually on this board. Although Goons is completely reasonable as well.
Saw your message about jumping in. Anyway, I can look in the voice chat.
Yeah, no problem. Let me just make sure there's no feedback on the audio. Should be fine. Okay. Yeah. Jump on in. We're gonna talk about some H League play. Okay, great. Should be good to go.
I don't like the treasure trove. I almost really like it. I was just saying in the chat. If Goons went here, I would really like treasure trove money with Delve, but I think Goons scores enough points to beat it.
Yeah. Embassy, Trove, Delve, Reap, like those all work pretty well. Plus a few Silk Merchants you throw in there is perfectly fine as well. So yeah, the money on this board is fairly good. But Goons remains Goons. So what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna predict that the money thing wins because the ambassador stack is still at 10.
Yeah. So the engine here is really bad without taking ambassador. Like if you're trying to play around an entire full deck, there's no way your engine's gonna kick off very fast.
For anyone who's unaware, ambassador is a phenomenal trap shot. So
Well,
was Chapel easily.
it's
Absolutely should have been opened here.
yeah. I mean it's a trasher, but it's also a junker, so it serves a dual purpose there, which is what makes it so much stronger than because it thins cards kind of like Steward does, but also giving your opponent junk cards is like the dual side of that.
Indeed.
So basically, anytime there's an engine and ambassadors on the board, it's almost always correct to go ambassador, unless there's some like very very strong other trashing like donate or chapel or something. But in the absence of exceptionally strong trashing, engines almost always want ambassador.
I think between the two moneyish looking decks, I think the treasure trove thing would work better than the apothecary thing.
Yeah, I don't think Apothecary is just doing a whole lot on the board like this.
I don't see a lot of amazing synergies. I guess like in the abstract, apothecary the treasure trove is kind of fine, but I'd rather just play straight treasure trove.
Yeah, and I think I mean you can definitely put Goons in the money deck. That's fine too. Although I don't think Embassy is definitely
Goons
a solid
money is
card.
not a bad money deck.
Yeah, Goons money is fine. It slows your opponent down and it scores some decent points, so you're not in a huge rush to hit provinces yourself, so you can kind of build up some economy.
And the Goons terminal also does pretty well versus Embassy, which is the other natural terminal. Because the Embassy, you're perfectly fine having a bunch of junk cards to discard. Like a Goons attack that hits a hand that has 2 estates in it might normally not look like it does much. But if the card that your opponent's playing with is Embassy, those 2 estates that they would have discarded at Embassy now have to be like 2 coppers or 2 silvers, so they discard instead.
Sure, I think it's still not too bad, because if you get Goons, you're down to 3 cards. You play Embassy, you're up to 4 cards. And so 4 cards with like a silver heavy deck is probably still a pretty safe bet to province.
Yeah, I don't think the Embassy thing is bad by any stretch. I just think
Yeah.
Goons is also pretty viable consideration.
Yeah, that's fine. I think. I mean, if they're playing money, I would definitely want embassies. Like you can play with both embassies and Goons and some like you can play like money-ish here, where you're getting some draw, some Goons, some fishing villages, and sort of play in between.
Fishing Village is probably one of the best decks for that, because you get the effect next turn too. So you don't have to worry about lining up your Fishing Village in the exact turn as your Embassy or your Goons.
Yeah, I think if it was like a regular village, it wouldn't really play very well, but being Fishing Village plays significantly better. Just because if you're playing with like a junky deck, you're pretty unlikely to match like a regular village with your draw card. But Fishing Village, yeah, like you said, just gives you that extra handful of room to find a village.
He's only just now about to pick up a second Apothecary, and it's only drawn him 1 card, which I think I suggest this is not an ideal kingdom for Apothecary, I don't think.
No, I
They
think
can top deck it though. They can top deck the Apothecary.
I mean, this is
They also
true.
have the Royal Silget in the deck. I missed that.
I think they both have a Royal Seal now. Or no, he has. Sorry, McWaffle has 2 Royal Seals actually. I don't think you really need Royal Seal in this deck. I'd probably just
I don't
prefer.
need Royal Seal in any deck. I don't remember the last time. I think the only context I've ever gotten Royal Seal is when Bandit Fort was around, and I'd rather spend $5 on a silver that doesn't give me -2 points.
So, Royal Seal is playable sometimes. The times you want to play with Royal Seal are generally when your deck is only like it's not really consistent at kicking off, but it's still pretty good when it does kick off, and so it's really nice to just be able to top deck those cards to kick it off every turn. That's the kind of deck where Royal Seal plays well. The downside is Royal Seal cost 5, which is usually what your real engine components also cost, and so there's a question of when you can actually fit it into that deck.
Or 4, I could see it sometimes being played or open. Yeah, 5 is just almost always a competitive point.
This is so the other top decking effects I think are just significantly better. So like Tracker or Traveling Fair are both like the top deck effect from those two things is very, very powerful because it doesn't compete with the 5 cost cards.
Indeed.
But yeah.
Oh,
so go ahead.
This is the same person picking up all these Royal Seals, right?
Yeah, I think McWaffle has 3 of them now. I don't think they're doing a whole lot. I'm ready to Province right now as Ant. Like right now, Province is perfectly fine.
That's my point of comparison. You have multiple Royal Seals. You can't like multiply top deck the same card. And one Royal Seal is like 2.5 silvers in this game. They do have delve.
That's true too. Yeah.
Yeah. So even just like silvers here, I think would out compete Royal Seal.
Yeah, I think 2 silvers is probably better than Royal Seal, basically always, if you're playing money here. I don't think the issue...
They're not finding the Royal Seal every turn.
I don't think that's the issue, though.
Pick the next Royal Seal for the next turn.
I'm not feeling like it's copper time yet. So in like a Goon's money deck, there comes a point where you do want to start buying copper, but it's usually a bit later in the game.
On one hand, he does have apothecaries. On the other hand, they only have 2 of them.
Yeah, if there was like if you had like a stack of apothecary, then gaining copper is less bad, but even still like a little bit dicey. Or is more goons, yeah. If you're playing like 2 or 3 goons, then buying copper is a significantly better prospect.
I think
but like
a lot of newer players just have this instinct to buy these 1 victory point coppers a lot more frequently than they should. There's context where it makes sense, but it's much rarer than you would think based on the way it often gets played.
Yeah, the 1v copper is something I would do very late in the game, or if like I desperately needing to score a certain number of points or something like that. But then again, you're not really desperately looking to score points until very late in the game. The decisions do get more interesting if you're playing 2 or 3 goons or 4 goons, right? Then like
generally, the goal of a goons deck is to build up to a turn where you can buy like 8 coppers for like 50 points.
Well, it depends, right? Because like Goons Money usually doesn't play more than 1 goons per turn, and Goons Money is still like a reasonable money deck. But any engine with goons in it, you're definitely looking to play a lot of goons per turn. So you're not going to settle for copper unless in like a goons engine, the times you want copper are when you're drawing so well that the extra copper doesn't hurt your chances of drawing and kicking off every turn. And then you can still trash them every turn, right? That's generally when you're buying copper in a Goons engine, or you're doing it very late when the games get coming to a close and you're desperately looking to score some points.
Yeah. Yeah, what Wandering Winder said is definitely correct. You play Goons Money when you cannot build an engine. Because if Goons is in the kingdom and you can build an engine, you ought to build an engine. I think that's definitely given. And in this kingdom, we do have the ability to build an engine. We've got actions with Fishing Village, trashing with Ambassador, and draw with Folk Merchant. This definitely ought to have been a Goons engine. Well, I guess conceivably what could have happened would be you build towards the Goons engine, and then maybe the Knights line just like runs that into the ground.
Well,
but you should definitely at least try.
Yeah, so uncontested, you just build the Goons engine and win. If the engine is contested, then Knights become playable, and it makes things kind of interesting. The engine mirror here definitely gets funky with the Knights.
Yeah, this kind of like a rock paper scissors of sorts, the one that points in that particular direction. The Knights deck does not do well versus the money deck. Money just puts a bunch of silvers and golds faster than the Knights can trash. But the money deck is crushed by the Goons deck. And so you kind of have to play the Goons deck, and then that just ends up turning into some sort of like quasi-Knights thing. And then if like enough Fishing Villages and stuff get trashed during that process, maybe you just pivot out of the Goons engine and towards money anyway. But you have to aim for Goons Money first, because that's the thing that wins.
I think in theory that all makes sense. What I feel like probably happens on a board like this is somebody just wins the Ambassador War and then just wins.
That's also a good point. We've almost kind of forgotten Ambassadors around.
Yeah. Like if you
it's very one-sided, very fast.
Yeah. So very often with these sorts of engines is somebody just gets a hit on Ambassador trashing and junking, and it just snowballs out of control, right? And on a board like this, once you snowball, you just win.
I just played a game earlier today where the opponent decided to delay Ambassador till turn 3, and by the end of the game, I think they had like 26 coppers and 10 curses in their net.
Yep.
And that's how Ambassador tends to go.
As a general rule, if you're gonna get Ambassador, you're gonna get it turn 1 or 2. You're almost always opening Ambassador when you want Ambassador.
I think double Ambassador is often a very strong opening. In this kingdom, I think Ambassador Silk Merchant's even stronger, because Silk Merchant's also just a phenomenal card to open.
Well, no, Silk Merchant Ambassador is, like, going away the best thing to open here. Double Ambassador is... Double Ambassador versus, like, Ambassador something else, I think is a little... It's kind of a hard thing. I think there's a lot of nuance to when you want double Ambassador versus single Ambassador opens. Double Ambassador...
Something else in my mind has to be real good, like Ironmonger or Silk Merchant or Bounty Hunter. Then I'm opening something else. I think double Ambassador is a real strong baseline.
The thing is that there's usually a lot of like 3s and 4s that pair pretty well with Ambassador. So like any sort of cantrip is really great with like Ambassador Tournament, Ambassador Poacher, even like Ambassador Oasis is pretty good. Like anything like that pairs pretty well with Ambassador opens. And then anything else, and anything that non-terminally trashes. So like Ambassador Forager is like okay. Ambassador Bounty Hunter, like things like that as well.
Benefit of Ambassador and like another good card like Juror Tournament is it's going to hit 5 a lot faster. Double Ambassador is kind of committed to just like you're not going to hit 5 for a while. You're just going to get real thin and jump your opponents.
So on a board,
if like Recruiter or something's around, you definitely do that.
So when I look at
double Ambassador is. If you line those up turn 3, turn 4, you get in 4 trashes and 2 junk. That's often just already well on the way to winning.
Yeah.
A little bit of a high roll, but pays off.
Yeah. If you're looking for a high roll, like a double Ambassador can definitely get you there. Double Ambassador is also more attractive when there's something reasonable to do with the 2s. So like on a board like this, if Silk Merchant wasn't there, double Ambassador seems a lot more tempting because you can just delve with a 2-cost hand. So you can thin really fast and still add economy, and so that helps you build up to like the higher price points that you're looking for.
Spice Merchant is another good example of a card that pairs well with Ambassador, that Wandering Winders pointed out.
Oh, Spice Merchant Ambassador is an exceptionally strong open, actually. That's like one of the best pairs for Ambassador.
Going back to Apothecary for a second, context for Apothecary I think would be good. I think 2 things that stick out to me to look for if Apothecary's round are A, good sifting cards like Warehouse or Forum or Dungeon can work very well with Apothecary because you draw a bunch of coppers which you don't necessarily want, but then you can discard those coppers with Forum or Cellar or whatever to draw cards you actually want. And then Apothecary plus Forum starts to look more and more like standard draw. So the Apothecary is drawing like 4 cards at a time. The other thing I think is cards that care about the top of your deck can often be good synergies with Apothecary, like Mystic or Wishing Well, or even Ironmonger or Seer. Because, maybe not Seer, because Seer doesn't have a lot of coppers. But point being is, Apothecary, even if it doesn't grab you the coppers, it shows you all 4 of the top cards. And so you can play that with 0 coppers, but Apothecary and Wishing Well and just name the cards, now that you've seen them. And so part of, I think, why Apothecary looks bad here is because none of those synergies exist. So I wouldn't take this detour into Apothecary, because I think it's just not worth it.
All right, I'm going to go away for just a second because I think my mic is picking up the desktop audio, and I'm trying to hope that this doesn't like create any feedback here. So I'm just gonna get some headphones. I think that'll solve that issue.
Wandering Winder says detection. Turn 16 is pretty early for a duchy. 7 provinces left. And some Goons points to go around. They do have real thick decks, so it's not like the duchy's going to slow them down that much. They have 2 of the treasure troves. Yeah. Antconnect has 3 treasure troves. I think they can pretty good treasure because their deck's kind of flooded with cards anyway. 1 more green card is really good.
Okay. Okay, so hopefully the audio is not giving me feedback anymore. So how is this game developing? They're playing just still money. So the thing is, they should be provincing more than they are by turn 18.
Waffle's actually gotten a good number of games. What Antconnect does in this situation, because it doesn't look like their deck is built to score a ton of points out of goons, so they really need to get to the province pile fast, and they didn't. Why didn't that happen?
That's actually a good question, because they seem to be adding...
Merchant seems like a good segue into a money deck. They bought a copper turn for that. I don't understand.
Yeah, you don't want to buy... So, generally speaking, never buy copper, as like a general rule, is perfectly fine.
I think maybe Antconnect has this problem. I've seen some players think like this. It's like, oh, I've got an extra buy. I ought to use it. So if I have an extra buy and I can afford copper, I should just put another copper in my deck. It's like, hey, it's treasure. That's good. Copper is generally more actively harmful than helpful. You know, if you're... Imagine you like added like an infinite number of coppers to your deck. Like you had some mix of gold and silver, so threw infinite coppers in there. Your chances of hitting province approach to 0. Because your average hand's going to have 5 points in it. And so if you're playing a money deck with a goal by provinces, copper is actively hurting. Whereas silver is going to be helpful, because like a hand of 5 silver is going to hit province. So the goal here should not be to flood your deck with copper.
So this
treasure trove to flood your deck with golds, and the copper is the byproduct.
This hand right here wins if McWaffle takes 3 Herbalists. And there's 1, 2, and 3 that wins. All right. But yeah, so think of it this way. Copper is like the worst card that does something for your deck typically. And so every time you draw a copper, you're not drawing a better card. Is like another way to think of it.
I like to think of every card as having like an implicit -1 card. Because if you're drawing that card, you missed out on drawing something else. And so the drawback of copper is just you missed out on a better card, and generally there's a lot of better cards in your deck than copper.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to think of I mean, the phrase you use is a stop card, right? It's a card that doesn't replace itself. And so a card being a stop card is like an actual disadvantage, that's like sort of implicitly associated with any card.
Well, let's look at this one.
All right.
This would be a good team for Apothecary, I think. Let's get go as well. Apothecary Forum. Oh, this is
So Bandit Fort makes this spicy.
the Bandit Fort Conquest synergy.
How many conquests do you need to do in a turn to overcome the Bandit Fort penalty points?
Well, let's see. If you took 2 conquests, you get 6 points and 6 silvers. 4 silvers.
So you're -2. So 3 conquests.
12 points and 6 silvers.
So 3 conquests breaks even. So you need 4 conquests to make up for the points.
Yeah, all the same turn.
That's true. You have T-post can also gain you some silvers. Okay. More realistically,
Don't like the Sea Hag open. Sea Hag's often a good card to open with, but the trashing here is too strong. Remake and Church are just going to make mincemeat of those curses.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not looking for Sea Hag on this board. It at least seems skippable. Basically, Sea Hag is pretty good when the trashing is weak, but it's pretty bad when the trashing is strong. And there's a lot of trashing here.
Remake and Church are both very good trashing. Remake trashes 2 cards at a time. Trashes 1 card and you get a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
A third, there's actually 2 other great trashes that I think are kind of memorable. First, Urchin, I would treat as a trasher because it gives you Mercenary, which can trash 2 cards. Which is normally great, but we got a card here you can buy directly to get that with Remix. I don't think you need the Mercenary. And then Trading Post likewise trashes 2 cards, but again, it's just kind of harder to access than Remake. If you had 5-2, you could open Trading Post, but I'm not looking to get Trading Post on a 4-3.
Yeah, 5-2 I'd open Trading Post. 4-3 I open Remake, and I guess we could open Remake Church. That seems fine. Remake Silver's also fine.
The question is, what the heck is your payload?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know what you're doing here.
Silver is to minimize the Bandit Fort. I don't know. Maybe gold. Just eat it. Yeah. That's for sure.
I mean, yep. It's a pretty gross board. I will say though that the Urchin mercenary play is perfectly reasonable as well, just because that discard attack is going to really hurt here. Not
even if I'm not getting mercenary, I'd pick up an Urchin or two to get the discard attack.
Yeah, yeah.
What they actually did. So we talked about the Sea Hag already. McWaffle opens Urchin Potion. I really dislike that. Urchin, if you're opening one Urchin, you should be picking up an Urchin and another attack. So Urchin Sea Hag would actually be an alright opening, because Sea Hag, being an attack card, can trigger Urchin's effect, so you'll get the mercenary. And that's the main reason you have Urchin. It's not for the discard attack. Early game, that's just discarding a stage. It's to get the mercenary into trash with it. And so Urchin Potion doesn't make much sense. Potion versus, like, if I was opening Potion, which I don't think you should, I'd be opening like Church with it. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of either of the openings. I think Remake Church seems very clear. University, I don't think is particularly worth getting here. There's not that many action cards I want a ton of.
I mean, Forum is a really good card on this board, I think. But other than that,
I'm not adding multiple stop cards in my deck. I don't think that we get.
No. I mean, I would like buy Forums on 5 costs. Like if I made 5, I would just buy a Forum.
Yeah, Forum I'd happily take on 5, but I'm not University to get it. I like the Urchin plus Black Cat combo that chat points out. Black Cat's also an attack card.
Oh, it is an attack. Oh, neat.
I don't think it's the best opening, but it is a neat way to trigger Urchin.
Yeah, so the reason I really like the Forums here, largely, is because I want to minimize the number of treasures I'm adding to my deck. So I can't just, like, add a bunch of silvers and golds to afford provinces. I'd rather just sift through my, like, relatively few silvers and golds to, be able to just afford provinces with, like, less treasure. Because I think that the Bandit Fort penalty is very real on this board.
I think perhaps even after you have this number of silvers, 6 or 7, you might start considering buying Forum over gold or conquest.
Oh, I think that for sure, yes. Yeah.
I agree with the deck that has fewer golds and silvers and tries to
Church is also pretty good at sort of balancing out your silvers and golds for turns you need them.
Yeah, I think I almost always like having 2 churches. Occasionally more, but two churches is a good number for most decks in general. Nice card, very flexible. Setting stuff aside is very helpful. If you're under discarded text, you discard a card one turn, set 3 aside with church, and next turn you have any promise.
Yeah. I think castles here, or castles versus just provinces, I think it's kind of close, because castles seem reasonable to me.
Yeah, I think the early castles, normally, I think picking castles too early is a mistake, because they're like functional victory cards for the most part. Here, the kingdom's weak enough that, I think it's alright.
I mean, even like Haunted Castle, it's a pretty good pickup here, I think.
Well, they're actually not quite trash. I think they're not trashing as fast as I would like them to. I think if you had a big deck of castles, I don't want to pick castles before.
Black Cat's a good card for sure. I mean, I think they're both under trashed. They're not trashing as aggressively as they probably should be. Especially if especially if. So I think Ant has both Sea Hags, right? Okay, so.
I'm definitely looking to get thoroughly.
Okay, yeah, there's 2. Yeah, so if you see your opponent takes 2 Sea Hags, like, you want to put a little more emphasis on the draw card, on the trashing cards, right? So, like, a second remake is fine, a couple churches is fine, right? Like, put a little more focus on the trashing if your opponent's, like, going heavy Sea Hags on a board like this.
There's not a lot of plus action at University, but I don't think it's worth playing with universities.
Well,
I'm thinking about what my terminal is. Early game that should be a remake, I think. And late game, do you switch to Black Cats?
Probably. I guess so. The thing with remakes is, like, on a board like this, I don't mind against Ant taking multiple Sea Hags. I don't mind having like 2 or 3 remakes because I'm fine just remaking remakes into forums.
Yeah, I agree. I think 2 remakes is often a good number. Here, even 3 could be fine. You have, I mean, if you're McWaffle, you know you eventually have to craft into 20 cards. Coppers, Estates, and Tinkers are coming in. So take 3 remakes, and then once you've got that accomplished, you can turn it into a forum.
So that was very interesting. Ant just set aside just the Sea Hag, but didn't set aside like the copper with it.
But it didn't make a whole lot of sense. There's no value to keeping that copper in your hand.
Yeah. The difference between 0 and 1 coins is nothing. Unless you're getting as engineer, I guess, but other than that.
Ant is again buying copper, which I think is again a mistake.
Yeah.
I think Antconnect has this incorrect impression that adding a copper to your deck is equal, and that is just a myth ability being built
Yeah.
Maybe they're unaware that you don't have to buy things.
I mean, it's a fairly common new player trap. It's just to buy copper when you have buys. But just don't do it. Just don't.
Until they learn about the counting house problem here.
Well, okay. There. let's keep it basic.
Lesson here is don't buy copper. You get the coppers out of your deck, not after to your deck. The Ant's still not very trash. It could be a remake.
At this point, I don't even know exactly.
Search also works kind of well with remake because it stays a little bit more reliable a little bit longer. You get a little bit more flexibility, like set it aside for next turn if you don't line it up with 2 cards of trash. Remake can often be a little bit, tricky in the middle game because you have to find 2 cards worth trashing with it, and forum lets you set aside the remake or set aside trash to find your remake next turn.
This is true. Here I would just
More than usual.
Yeah.
Still be good here.
Here I would just turn the potion into a forum and kill the curse. Yeah. I think. How many units? He has 3. Yeah, 3 units is more than enough universities.
I mean, I think 1 university is more than enough. But if you're going to get them, 2 I think is probably the most that you get before that.
Yeah. And he's not going to do it, though. He's just going to take the university. I mean, at some point, you run out of like things to gain with universities. There's only so many forums in the supply.
Even if I were in the university, now I would actually first take it. Just that's just very good. You gotta trash the curse and stuff. You really want more university. Really, you just like pass that turn, trash copper. But keeping a curse round and a potion round at a curse stop part of your deck is real bad. I would not have done that.
Yes, I agree.
So now one thing with I assume robot being kind of stretched out, but just to clarify for everyone, black cat in the abstract because it is plus 2 cards. You can't draw with black cat in this game reliably because the only plus action is universal. And we said every card has that sort of implicit -1 card. And black cat your action also has that -1 action. Right? So to play black cat and still have a turn, you have to get plus action by playing university. But university is like -1 card, so because it doesn't draw you any cards. So black cat's like +1 card, -1 action. University is +1 action, -1 card. If you played 10 black cats and 10 universities, you'd still have a 5-card hand and still have 1 action left. And so you can't really build a draw engine around black cat and universities draw an action because they aren't good enough to cover each other's costs and net you anything. Now the exception is, of course, if you play your black cat via its reaction effect, where your opponent buys a victory card, you play black cat directly from your hand. That doesn't cost you an action, so the black cat draws and doesn't require university to first cover its action cost, and that could net you some draw. but you couldn't reliably build an engine around top decking only Black Cats, hoping your opponent activates.
Yeah.
Position better here. Kind of like Connected, I think. Waffle choice that is effective at countering this C-Hag play. I think if you go early into trashing like Remake and Church, the curses are not going to do much for you, but they didn't do that. And so now they've got a lot of junk in the deck. They got a lot of curses they haven't gotten rid of, and the universities are just kind of further getting in the way of that. And so I think Antconnected seems like they're in a good spot.
I think Ant has most of the castles too, if not all of them.
Let's check. Humble. So they're split 2-2 on castles.
Oh, are they? Never mind. I must have missed it.
McWaffle just got a lot fewer points because all those curses in the deck.
Well, also I think McWaffle also has a lot more silver in the deck because of the trading post.
Oh, so Antconnect no longer has this. They did acquire this, but at the moment it's 2-2, or McWaffle no longer is small, but acquired it. So it's 2-1 at the moment for the castles.
Okay, that's what it is.
Decks don't look like they're going to see problems for a while. I think we're in for a long game.
This might be true. This is a very strange board.
Yeah. It's like basic big money, but with Bandit Fort around to make it awkward.
Yes, exactly. McWaffle is taking urchins from the university plays. I don't think that's correct. I think you just want forums. Just take forums for days, basically.
Yeah, a lot of forums seems real good here. I'd happily take as many forums as they can have. I mean, I don't mind having a few urchins to get in the attack. But if you have more forums, you can afford to have fewer urchins, because you'll find the urchins you have more frequently. And you only really need to get in one urchin to get the attack in.
Yeah. So I'm definitely pro forum on this board.
Actually, having said that, I was coming at that from the backdrop of, oh, you're already trashing with other cards. You only need one urchin to get the attack in. Maybe they need the urchins for mercenary purposes, because they're still very much under-trashed.
I think it's...
Maybe they do need a few.
Yeah, I think it's fine to take a mercenary, but you don't need, like, five urchins to get a mercenary. Ant does take a mercenary right there, which I think is probably good for him.
Yeah, I mean, both of them are still at the level of junk in the deck that mercenary seems very much worth taking.
Yeah, like, using University to gain cheap, like, 3-cost cards is not often the reason you want University. University getting 5-cost cards is usually, like, the real power.
Also, you know, Urchin is something of a luck-dependent card to line up well, but 7 urchins taken from the pile and 15 turns in is usually not the place where you want to be getting your first mercenary. Usually you're trying to get mercenary, as with other trashing cards, as soon as possible. And so if their goal is to get mercenary to trash, they definitely, I think, could have been more proactive in lining that up.
Yeah, that's true. So this game's gonna go on for a while, I think. Yeah, this game's got a lot of turns left. We're on, what, turn 15 already? Want to take some predictions for how many turns we go?
Oh, goodness.
Do you think we hit 30 turns? I think we hit 30 turns.
I can't confidently say that's wrong. Curses will run out, and urchins will apparently run out.
That's actually true. Curses, urchins, and castles could 3-pile. Alright, maybe it doesn't go quite that long.
That's my prayer, is it ends on Curse, Urchin, Castle.
The problem is neither of these decks is really good at hitting, like, 10.
Oh god, that's... Church could help... If I'm going for castles, Church is even more important, I think. Because the best way to hit 10 in a deck like this is going to be to set aside, like, 2 golds and a silver for next turn, so that I have, like, a real big hand next turn that can spike 10.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like, if I'm Ant right here, I'd probably just set aside silver, copper, copper, and play... Oh, or do that instead. Or just, like, set aside silver, copper, and just play the C-Hag.
Yeah.
So McWaffle takes another
Another
university. That's 5 universities. That's too many universities. But it does make the game go faster, so there's that.
I think you get in this trap of thinking, all right, I've got this potion. I've got like 2 coppers and a potion in my hand. I have exactly the amount of money to buy university, so I've got to buy the university. And you do have to think of like, is the university even good for my deck, right? You don't need a million actions in this deck. You're not building a big engine. You're not going to string those all together. And you don't need 5 universities to gain action cards. There's just not that many cards worth gaining here. And so at some point, the university is just like more cards getting in your way and trading off with stuff that you do value that you could have bought over that.
Yeah,
So that black cast better than the university at this point.
well, so that concept's related to what's called the nothing test, right? The question is buying this thing better than buying absolutely nothing this turn, right? And there comes a point when buying something is just worse than buying nothing, right? So like coppers, for instance, almost always fail the nothing test. You buy a copper.
Cough, Antconnected.
Yeah. So like the coppers almost fail the nothing test. But at some point, like even like cards that you actually want some of start to fail the nothing test, right? Like even if on a board where you want like a couple universities, and get to the point where adding more universities is more harmful than helpful, right? And so recognizing when buying a card hurts your deck as opposed to helps your deck is a pretty important skill to develop.
Oh, yeah. A card's value is often, but only like somewhat more often than not, related to the amount it costs. There's plenty of times where a card that has a high sticker price is not very good for your deck, could be actively harmful for your deck, and lower cost cards could be better. And I think part of the trap might be they're seeing, I've got this amount of money, 2 potion and university, I better buy the thing that or 2 potion and two coins and a potion, I better buy the university. And then kind of feeling compelled to buy that. I think that's a very common thing you see early on. And like it can kind of make sense. Like if you don't have a good gauge for yourself of how valuable a card is, maybe the best thing you've got to go on is you're like, oh well, this card is expensive. It must be expensive for a reason. I'll buy the most expensive thing. But you'll quickly learn that it's not a very good heuristic because a card can be good in general and bad for a kingdom, or it can be cheap but just really strong for other reasons. And so just buying the expensive thing can often be very misleading.
Yeah, I think for a lot of new players, the first card that really teaches this lesson is Chapel. Right, Chapel costs 2, but it's an exceptionally good card. And so
if Chapel costs 5, you would still buy it.
In many decks, yeah. But a lot of times the card's cost is often related to game design decisions instead of like power decisions. So, for instance, one of the reasons Chapel might be better costing 2 than, say, 3 or 4 is you don't punish a player for hitting, like, the 5-2, or as opposed to the 3-4, right? Because if Chapel costs 3, and you almost always want to open Chapel, then if you get a 5-2 opening split, well, now your 5 has to be buying Chapel, right? Of course, on the flip side, it also means you can buy a Chapel and then a 5-cost card because Chapel costs 2. So there's a lot more that goes into these things than just like power decisions, right? Like the effect it has on gameplay and opening, splits and things like this all factors into sort of the game design decisions for like what makes a card cost something.
And Wandering Winders also pointed out that Chapel is also a good example of a card that will eventually fail the nothing test. Chapel is phenomenal. If you look at the ratings, you'll see it's ranked like I think 8 out of 360 cards. It's just so good, and yet. You always buy 1 Chapel. You almost never buy a 2nd Chapel. You know, if I already have a Chapel in my deck, if I hit 2 coins, I'm not buying a 2nd Chapel, even though it's an incredibly strong card, because a 2nd Chapel is not doing more for me than the 1st Chapel, and is just actively getting in the way of other stuff. So Chapel pretty much always fails that nothing test. As soon as you've got your first, then you almost never get another one.
Yeah, I think I've seen this a lot of times with new players as well. Like once they realize Chapel's a good card, they'll buy like 3 of them, and then you're like, oh no, that's too many Chapels. Just 1 Chapel, please.
I've also often seen this mistake of players will they'll have a 3-4 opening or 4-3, and they'll open with like Silver and Smithy, and then they'll eventually hit 2, and they'll be like, all right, now time to add the Chapel, and they're still not trash, and they added like another Chapel, and with cards like that, Ambassador as well, 1 early is just much stronger than 2, 3, 4 later, because if you can line it up with all your trash in like turn 3, you get 4 trashes in. That's gonna be much harder to do once your deck is like full of other stuff.
Yeah, the general rule is early trashing is much, much better than late trashing. So early on, it's like you're looking to trash your coppers and estates, your starting deck, and so getting a trasher early gives you more chance to line up that card with your junk.
I was saying earlier, Antconnected seemed in the lead. They're now at negative 13 points. My guess is they've taken a huge number of silvers. In fact, looking at the chat, maybe they didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
They're just now talking about Bandit Fort.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they actually found that. I just want to finish my thought, though, on early trashing versus late trashing. Because early trashing also has the added benefit of, like, accelerating your deck, right? Like, you trash early, you have fewer junk cards like coppers and estates, and then any of the other good cards you buy, now you see them more and more often, so that also has an acceleration effect. So typically, if you're going to trash, you do it early.
My guess is Antconnected at the very least is probably not thinking that way because they're buying coppers, which is sort of like the very antithesis, right? The reason you trash is to get the coppers out of your deck, and buying a copper, puts more into your deck. So definitely, I think it'll be important for them to consider, is this card net helping or hurting my deck? And once you realize the value is negative, you realize it is very beneficial to get it out of your deck as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. So this game is nearing pile out. Remakes have been pushed really hard now by McWaffle, and Urchins and Curses are going to run pretty soon. So
late run on remakes, but
I definitely expect this game to end on Remakes, Urchins, and Curses now.
If I'm McWaffle, at this point I'd take remakes and Urchins over for them. In fact, I would have just remade that Black Cat into another Urchin, because I think McWaffle could easily take 3 Urchins before McWaffle can undo like a negative 13 points deficit.
That's probably true. But yeah, as McWaffle, I'm definitely looking to just end the game over the next few turns. Dutchy doesn't really do that, though.
Yeah, I agree. McWaffle this turn, I think I would take the Urchin University and then set aside remake copper with Church and then buy a second Urchin. And then you're basically guaranteed to have the Urchin pile out.
He might get attacked, though.
Oh, that's a good point. Antconnected might even need to consider trashing those silvers.
I would trash those silvers. Yes, I think that's the right play right there.
So Antconnected's mindset ought to be right now. Oh shoot, piles are super low and I'm behind points. I need to make up this 17-point deficit ASAP because my opponent, ought to be aiming empty Urchins and Curses very fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is the right play because even if it bought them nothing, crashing 2 silver scores them 4 points because it undoes the Bandit Fort effect. Now I guess it's by Dutchy.
I think it's Dutchy, yeah.
Retrash him. It is a good mindset though. I think this demonstrates something is, it can feel bad, like, oh, I bought this card, I never got to use it, I had to trash it again. And you might get that sort of sunk cost fallacy of like, oh, I've got a good card, I shouldn't get rid of it. I think Antconnected made the right decision there, which is, oh, even if it seems bad, it's the decision that makes this cost. These silvers are a net drag on my deck right now, I've got to get rid of them. Mm-hmm. And so that was definitely a good play.
So as Ant here, I do not play this Sea Hag because that just makes the game faster.
Ooh, yeah, 100% agree. I think that was a mistake.
So
does not have a good way to get curses fast besides buying.
McWaffle has a win in hand now. McWaffle can just University for an Urchin and buy a curse to win.
Banding and activated Black Cat if Antconnected buys from the dungeon, which...
Oh, that's true. Yeah, so that'll actually be even easier.
Yeah. Even if McWaffle didn't notice the Urchin curse pile out, it might end up being forced into it by this buy.
Alright, so should be
taking urchins this whole game anyway. It'd be weird if they took a different action card. A lot of fun though. I wonder what they're contemplating.
Don't know. Maybe they're just double checking the points.
All right, we gotta win.
All right.
Yeah, if it's an in-game decision, it's not necessarily a bad idea to doctor as opposed.
Yep, that's fine.
I think playing mercenary here is kind of bad things because the game's already over. You've already got a points lead. You're kind of forcing your opponent to discard for nothing. It's possible they don't even realize that the game's over yet. Maybe they didn't realize they've already three-piled. But definitely if they realize that, I would not be playing mercenary.
Yeah, like you click the end turn button and you just take your win.
Points margin matters in Dominion. No one ever keeps track of that. It's not relevant to league scoring or tie breaks or anything like that. A win's a win, a loss is a loss, no matter how many points you buy. No point in putting up the score after you've already got a win. And they did finish in 21 turns.
It was less than 30. I didn't really expect the remakes to pile though, so that's
yeah, I did not see that.
that's on me.
So that's 2-0 for McWaffle now, going into game 3. Oh, wait. Game 3, you are up. Oh, like, you're up. Not like you're up at points.
Yeah, no, McWaffle has won the first two.
Yeah.
But I think
that.
the player order needs to switch, I think, right? No?
Let's... McWaffle was...
McWaffle was definitely player 2 on the last board, though, right? Because they were top player? Yeah. This is right. Okay.
They've also been first once each. It's not
yeah.
Like it would be bad if they didn't.
Okay.
Fairy summon is a good combination, or if they're familiar with the cards.
Might be asking if they're familiar.
Summon does have an interaction.
Yeah, so it doesn't look like Antconnect is familiar with all the cards that are being played here, so that definitely hurts. That definitely hurts a bit.
So one thing that is worth pointing out that I thought they might have been talking about is Fairy can reduce the cost of an action card that you summon. Lets you summon a card. An action card costs up to 4. So if you wanted to summon, let's say, a 5 or a 6 cost card, you could put the Fairy token on, say, Kiln or Puka or Scholar, and then use Summon's effect to play that card, even though 5 cost cards normally aren't eligible for that. So there's kind of like a nice interaction there.
For sure. So on this board here, I'm pretty sure you open summon.
I like that. I like that a lot.
And you summon... What do you summon?
Summon Develop, I think.
Like,
Moneylender's all... I'd have to think about it, but...
Yeah.
Moneylender are the two that typically is the most up.
Amulet's not terrible either.
But what numbers are they hitting? So McWaffle has 4 coppers down there. So if they use Moneylender, they'll end up having 5, 6?
More than they can spend.
Both of them could hit 5 again if they summon the Moneylender. If you summon Moneylender, then summon Develop, could be good.
Yeah, I could see that working out. I think... Yeah, I think given that you probably want to summon again next turn, I would assume you summon Moneylender. You could summon Amulet and take a coin.
I definitely want to get a Trash in. It's really good to get a Trash in before you reshuffle. That's like one junk card that never even makes it to your first reshuffle.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also costing you a curse though, so it's sort of neutral there on junk cards.
But I mean, if you're buying like, for example, McWaffle's shoes, a 2-cost card anyway. Pearl everything's a lot worse. Yeah, I think if you summon Develop, you could develop a state into like another Develop and then have another one top decked. But I think I prefer the Moneylender line over any of the other stuff.
Yeah.
So the reason we're discussing all this, moneylender and development stuff, is because priority one is always trash early. We were just talking about that last game, and we're looking right now at the various cards: develop, amulet, and moneylender, which are the three main ways to trash in this game. Hookah being the fourth. And so the reason why those are the ones on the table are because trashing real early is good. If you can trash it before turn 3 even happens, then you're real happy.
Yeah, looking over the options, I do believe Summon Moneylender, Summon Develop is probably going to be pretty solid. But maybe Summon Moneylender, Summon Amulet's better.
One thing that's interesting to consider here is going to be the long term. So actually, before I move on, Summon Amulet turn 1, or summon on a turn 2 after the Moneylender.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, because then you get the an extra trash, and like you get 2 trashes next shuffle with the Amulet, which is pretty good.
I think Summon Amulet turn 2 after Moneylender could definitely be good.
Yeah, I think I like that line.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my line that now I'm thinking about is Summon Moneylender, Summon Amulet as turns 1 and 2.
That sounds real good to me. The reason I would not summon Amulet turn 1, of course, is beyond the fact that Moneylender helps you hit 5 again to resummon, is because you lose a lot of the benefit of summoning turn 1 if you summon a duration card. If you summon Moneylender or Develop or something, it goes right back into your shuffle after turn 2. If you summon Amulet, it's staying out of play. So you're not really, you're getting the trash in early, but you're not getting the benefit of getting to play the Amulet twice in your first reshuffle.
Yeah, I agree. You don't want to summon Amulet turn 1.
Moneylender Amulet sounds like a perfectly good opening.
Yeah, so he's going to go ahead and buy Fairy.
I don't like this opening at all. Why would they do that? A few thoughts. First is, you don't want villages early. Villages are good cards for engines. You do want a lot of villages eventually, but you don't want them until you have other action cards in your deck. Because the main value of a village is helping you play more actions, which at this point, McWaffle just doesn't have. So there's no reason to start in on the mountain village. And then secondly, it's not too important to ferry it, because how often are you hitting exactly 2 that you couldn't buy the mountain village for 4, but you can buy it for 2. 4 is not a hard number to hit.
Yeah. Opening Amulet is not bad at all though. Like if there wasn't summon here, Amulet open is perfectly reasonable to me.
Yeah, I think Connected's choice here is perfectly fine. Double Amulet is often a very strong opening. I wouldn't complain about that. I think it's not quite optimal because summon's really good, but double Amulet seems quite fine.
Right. So ferrying the mountain village, and then I guess I just don't see what that does for you ferrying the mountain village, because you're oftentimes when you're ferrying turn 1, it's so you can buy that card turn 2, but you didn't do that.
Also, didn't need to ferry it.
That's true.
Had 4 coppers coming up.
Yeah, that's true. Also, so let's talk about what this board looks like as it develops, because what
Pun intended.
Sure, we'll go with that. Obviously you want villages. Both Mountain Village and Ironmonger can give you extra actions to play, so both of those in some combination are going to be good. I think Kiln looks very strong here, because it helps you get more of everything you want. And I think Scholar looks really good, because it's how you're going to mostly draw cards here. So the idea being, you're playing a lot of Mountain Villages and Ironmongers to get you actions, you're playing Kilns to get you more cards, you're playing Scholars to draw more cards, etc. The question...
I would add to that is Storeroom, I think.
Yeah, so I think Storeroom... Because you need some sort of payload, right? That by itself doesn't really get you provinces. So Storeroom is really good because you can use your extra actions and extra cards. You can discard cards with Storeroom in order to get coins, and then you can draw back up with Scholar, right? Because Scholar, doesn't matter how many cards you have in hand, Scholar's going to draw you back up to 7. So you can use your Storeroom to discard everything but Scholar, play Scholar, you made a bunch of money. So I think all that's pretty good.
That will be very action intensive, because both Storeroom and Scholar are terminal. I'm looking to get Mountain Villages and Ironmongers. But if you can line that up, each Storeroom is scoring you 5 coins and a buy. So it's stronger than Animal Fair as far as payload goes, because you have a hand with Storeroom, Scholar, 5 other cards. You discard all 5 for coins, play the Scholar, you're back at a 7-card hand with 5 coins to show for it. I think that's what I like as payload.
I think yeah, I think that's the core of the engine here is Mountain Village, Ironmonger, Storeroom, Scholar. And then there's a bunch of stuff that kind of like is ancillary and kind of helps with that. I think Kiln is great. I think you probably do some stuff with Develop here. Seems fine.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any like neat tricks you can do. There's this kind of
One thing
neat
I've been thinking
thing.
about is how Fairy interacts with Develop. For example, if there was a 5-cost card I really wanted, I might Fairy it and then open with Develop, so I could Fairy my estates into the 5-cost card that now costs 3. Could Fairy a 3-cost card into 1 cost, so that when you develop estates or coppers, you pick it up. But I'm not seeing any 3s you really want to spam here.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need that many storerooms. So I think you probably play with Develop a little bit here, but it's not going to be like any like crazy tricks or anything.
Agree with that. Gold's a good develop target. You get like a 3 and a 5 off of it.
Oh yeah, Curse Gold's great to develop. So looking at this board, or just some general like early game strategies for this board, I think you want to summon early and summon often. Like, you want to summon a lot on this board. Basically, early game, I think every 5 cost is summon. Right, you summon Ironmonger, you summon like some trashing, you summon a Mountain Village, right? I think you want to just summon over and over and over in early game until you're ready to like start getting some serious scholars into your deck. Like summon is very good for, I guess the word is tempo. Basically, like it lets you gain a card and immediately play it, and because you do want to gain a bunch of Ironmongers and villages and storerooms anyway, like being able to play those cards immediately and being able to play them like without requiring an action or like the -1 card that's sort of implicit to these things is very, very fast at setting up.
Yeah, I think the way I like to think of a card like Summon is you get, let's say you're getting a 4-cost action anyway. For 1 more coin, you're getting 3 benefits off of that. The first and most obvious one is it's kind of like top decking the card, because instead of having to shuffle through your entire deck to get the card, you're getting to play it immediately next turn. But I think less obvious for newer players is the effect of playing in a card immediately via some other card's effect, instead of having to actually play it yourself, is kind of like getting a bonus +1 card +1 action on your turn. Because you normally, to play an action, you gotta draw the card in your hand and spend the action on it. And if you're doing the playing of the action without doing either of those things, you're avoiding having to do either of those, and so you're saving a card and an action. So someone's like +1 card +1 action top deck on top of whatever other card you're getting in. And all those are really good.
Yep. Summon is one of the stronger events, I would think. Like overall, it's just a very, very strong event.
And especially in a kingdom like this, where the 5-cost cards are not really much better than the 4-cost cards. Biggest drawback of Summon is the cost is 5, and sometimes the 4 and lower cards aren't great. But this is a very good kingdom for Summon, because A, the 4s are about as good as the 5s, and B, even if you want some 5s, you could Fairy something like Scholar, and then summon Scholar anyway if you wanted to.
Yeah. So there's a lot of I think you should summon like constantly on this board.
I like lots of summons. In fact, as I've said that, I do like the idea of Fairying Scholar at some point, so I could just gain a lot of cards out of Summon.
I don't know if you Fairy Scholar. I mean, okay, the Fairying Scholar is perfectly fine. I don't know, like, summoning Scholar is that exciting to me. Like, I'd much rather summon Ironmonger or Village than Scholar. Because, like, you're going to draw cards, you're going to discard. It's just, like, drawing up to 7 cards. It just seems like a much worse effect than summoning one of your non-terminals.
Well, depending on what your deck needs. Your deck probably needs a lot more total villages.
Yes.
But you are getting sort of like a duration warp effect out of that, which is not bad if you needed to get the Scholar into your deck anyway.
Sure, like if you're looking to get a Scholar anyway, like summoning it's probably better than not summoning it. But I think given that you're probably like not buy limited too much, like you have like, a decent amount of buys, like I'd much rather just like buy 2 Scholars for 6 than summon 1 Scholar for 5, right? Like if that's sort of what you're thinking between.
And in general, I think a kingdom like this, I think, is kind of messy and sloppy. You're gonna have to make your decisions as the game progresses, because a lot of these cards interact in weird ways. And so I could see context where I would buy 2 Scholars because I want 2 Scholars. I could see context where, like, I'm about to have a dud turn and I want to summon to get the early draw. I think a lot of this is going to be a little dependent on what your hand looks like and your deck looks like.
Yeah, it's certainly not an easy board to play. There's a lot of, I think like the general strategy that I'm looking at, I think is like fairly clear the thing you do with like villages and scholar and storeroom. But there's a lot of small tactical decisions that I think are quite difficult.
So one thing Wandering Winder is pointing out in the chat is if you're playing a storeroom has two segments. The first is you can discard any number of cards to draw new cards, like a seller style effect. And the second is you can discard cards for points. And so there's no point ever really, well, I mean, I shouldn't say never, it's always an exception to everything. Generally, there's no point in discarding, or in choosing not to discard coppers to draw new cards, because you can never draw a card worse than copper for coin purposes. Because let's say you discard the copper and you draw an estate, Storeroom still then lets you discard that estate for coins. And so discarding copper, best case scenario, you draw something better. Worst case scenario, you turn the thing you drew into a +1 point anyway.
Well, so I think this is like what I was talking about before, like with just being like some fairly tricky decisions to make, because it depends on what you're going to draw, right? So like if you're tracking your deck reasonably well, and you know like your next few cards have, you know, like a village and another scholar in them, right? And your current hand already has a scholar in it, and you have terminal space. Like it's perfectly fine to not draw those cards, just discard, just play scholar, because you know your next few cards are going to have the village scholar that you want to keep playing the turn, right? So like I think those decisions come down to a lot of deck tracking.
Yeah, there's definitely exceptions.
Yeah.
Now, a big mistake I'm seeing Antconnect has made is we did comment positively on Antconnected's decision to get an amulet. Now the reason you get an amulet early is because amulet is a very good trasher. You play it once and you can trash 2 cards. You can trash 1 card the turn you play it, and a card the turn afterwards. And trashing early is good. Now unfortunately, Antconnected, when they went to use that amulet, played it and gained a silver the turn they played it, and then took the +1 coin the turn after. And neither of those is the trashing effect. And so as it turns out, I think that amulet was quite a mistake if that was the intended purpose. You're not looking to get a bunch of silvers into your deck, I think in this game ever, but certainly not before you've gotten trashed.
Yeah. The amulet's a pretty good card in general, because it does... I don't know, so... Alright, so just to comment on this turn right here, probably you want to play the Kiln first before you play the Ironmonger, so you can gain an extra copy of Ironmonger. But beside that... yeah, so Amulet does a few things, right? So it trashes, like, pretty well. Trashing 2 cards for, like, 1 terminal action is not bad. But also, like, gaining silvers is a pretty decent effect. Like, if you're thinning down relatively fast, you thin down fast, then you add some silvers, and now you have some economy to work with. So it basically turns your trashing card early into like an economy card later, and that's actually a fairly helpful combination.
Yeah, even if you're not playing the engine, Amulet can be a pretty good money card because you trash the bad cards, gain a bunch of silvers, you're in a good spot. Now I think, if I'm not mistaken, McWaffle I think is going a little bit heavy on kilns at the moment before adding any draw. Puka and Scholar are the 2 plausible draw cards. We talked about Scholar, I think is the best here. But you could even draw with Puka if you wanted to, like you trash your coppers to draw 4 cards. That can hurt in the long game because you'll run out of stuff to trash to it. And you don't want to have to add a bunch more coppers, but it could at least work. Point being is, and it gives you 2 coins and gains you a thing. But you don't want to have a bunch of payload cards before you can reliably find them. And so definitely my first 5 is Scholar here. The first 5 cost a card, and summoning is obviously a good $5 buy. I don't like adding a bunch of kilns to my deck before I can line them up with things. And so Kiln will eventually be good for like printing tons of Ironmongers and Mountain Villages, but I really dislike how many they've got. They've already got 3 of them, and Antconnect is 1, and neither of them has touched the draw cards at all.
Yeah. I will say Puka is a very good card in general. Drawing 4 cards and trashing a copper all at the same time is just a very positive effect. On this particular board, I would have expected to, by the time I want to add like a Puka or a Scholar or a draw card, I probably would have expected to trash a good bit of copper already. So I can see not getting Puka on this particular board. But if you're not going to trash copper early, I think Puka is definitely the thing you want to do before too long.
I think the line we were envisioning probably never gets through. When
Yeah.
you cast early with summoning Moneylenders or Amulets or even Develops, state of their decks right now, I think Spook would be a very good thing to add. Neither of them has particularly trash Copper. There's 3 total in the trash, 12, and they do need draw, so Puka covers both of those problems.
I will say though that I think Ant has 2 Moneylenders, so like those coppers might start getting trashed regardless.
They're having trouble lining them up. This is another benefit of getting the trashes early, is it's easier to line it up with the cards you're trying to trash. You know, adding a Moneylender late, you're very unlikely to line it up with your coppers at some point.
Yeah, I think also, I believe Ant is also very over-terminaled, meaning that he just has too many terminal actions and not enough villages to like support that many terminal actions. And I think,
That's very true.
and I think McWaffle is the exact opposite, being under-terminaled, right? Because McWaffle has a lot of villages and just not that many terminals like to play every turn. Although maybe he has, he might have enough kilns now. Yeah, he might have enough kilns now.
Very behind us. Okay, so they made the same mistake you commented on earlier again. This time with Mountain Village instead of Iron Mountain. You want to play the kiln before the village, because I don't think you need more kilns right now. The best card among those cards for you to gain a copy of was Mountain Village, I think pretty clearly in my mind. Doing it in this order gets you another kiln, but you've already got 3 kilns. You don't need 4 of them right now. Now let's take something builds.
So I expect McWaffle to be in pretty good shape on this board still. Obviously, Ant has the point lead with the province here, but I think McWaffle does actually have a number of golds and kilns and other things. I think that's going to be pretty good in the long run for actually getting provinces.
I would take Storeroom here. You got 4 jump cards.
I think I would have taken like a mountain village or 2 before I took the storeroom, but otherwise I agree.
That's a good point. You could take another mountain village and then take the storeroom with that mountain village in case you need more.
It ends up not mattering here, but I probably would have taken like an extra storeroom or 2. Or sorry, an extra mountain village or 2.
I also agree with your assessment that McWaffle, I think the points will probably be very decent.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be develop.
I'm so confused by that play.
So
You got a curse to buy 2 develops, and they could have just summoned 1 and not taken the curse.
yeah, like, well, also like even if you wanted 2 develops, if you want to spend the curse gold, you can still take a develop and summon develop. So like that was just basically buying develop over summoning develop, which seems pretty wrong to me.
Definitely would summon develop, even if I wanted to. Okay.
Yeah, like
Really need draw. Like, with all the mountain villages, 1 scholar in this deck just draws so many cards because you can just redraw it with your mountain village each turn. Ideally, more than 1, but
so there are there's like there's a meme that's often said is draw is good, like because
I agree with that.
because draw is really good, and it's fairly common for new players to underdraw. It's actually fairly common for like good players to underdraw as well too. Like underdrawing is a pretty common effect. But yeah, drawing cards, it's good because the more cards you draw, the more. So it has 2 effects, right? Because 1, drawing more cards means you can play more cards, right? But it also has the effect of like cycling through, and so the cards you buy, you get to play again faster because you're drawing through your deck faster. So there are just multiple ways in which draw is a very good thing to do.
I think McWaffle's at the stage of the game. You realize it's always a reasonably good strategy to just throw 1 million gold into your deck, or 1 million silvers, because then you'll start to hit province. But then what is usually a better strategy when available is add a few of those and then draw to the few that you have reliably. And then a deck that can have that reliability of finding the same few treasures doesn't need 1 million because you have 2 gold and a silver and you can afford province. And so, yeah, draw often compensates for having fewer treasures because you find the ones you have every turn.
Yeah. The thing is, in general, like playing like heavy money decks is usually worse than playing an engine when like all the pieces are there. The pieces being things like trashing, draw, villages, payload, attacks. Right? There's like a bunch of ways like we can talk about like the things that make engines work. So when you have a board like this, like you have almost everything. You have everything you want here for an engine, and so the correct play is almost always build the engine. The problem with building engines is hard compared to just playing money, right? Like buying golds and like a couple other cards that support that is fairly simple in terms of like actual execution. Not to say there isn't like a lot of strategy that goes into playing money decks as well, but in terms of like the comparatively, like building a good engine is a lot harder than building a good money deck.
If I were trying to give someone a simple set, it would probably just be like 3 amulets, summon them if you can.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably, in my mind, the best money strategy available here.
So one tip I would give to new players who are looking to get better is always build an engine. Like you're gonna fail a lot before like you're really good at like figuring out how to build an engine, but just build engines, because that's how you get better at building engines, is just practicing, right? You see a board, you build an engine, you're probably going to lose a bunch of games initially because you're going to build the engine badly, but in the long run it'll be better for you, right? You'll learn how to build engines better, it'll improve your play overall. So like if there's a possible engine, just build the engine. And if you lose, you probably learn more than if you had won by playing like a junky money deck.
That's a fair point. My thing very much is not long-term rate beyond a certain low skill ceiling.
Well, yeah, and so like in a competitive match, like do the thing this game that's going to help you win the most. Like that's fine. But if you're playing just like for fun, like do the thing that's going to make you better in the long run. Assuming that's the goal you have, is to get better at Dominion. If your goal is just to have fun, then do whatever you want.
Antconnect might still be in this. They're about to hit Province again, and they are up. Province is worth a point.
Yeah, I'm surprised because I think McWaffle has missed Province like several times, and I kind of expected him to not miss Province this much.
Yeah. So if I'm McWaffle, I'm trying to figure out, can I do double Dutchy this turn? Because that's what I really need to even a good shot of being in this game still.
I would also be okay with like Province Estate.
That's true. You could take that gamble.
Well,
so options: developing gold could get you a duchy, and you could mountain village for a gold and then buy another duchy. Can they hit 10 to do the province estate with a buy?
I have no idea.
They have a storeroom down there.
The develop helps certainly. So in a position like this, the thing you got to think about is what do you need to win the game? Like what do you need to happen to win the game? And when I'm looking at McWaffle's position, I'm thinking he needs both these provinces. Like he can't win this game with only one province, I don't think.
Now, unfortunately, we can see Antconnect already has one province in hand. But yeah, from McWaffle's perspective, I agree with the idea of get both provinces.
Yeah. So, like, sometimes you take the risk to buy that province there, even though, like, you might lose immediately, because it's still your best chance of winning.
Yeah. Antconnected seems one at this point.
Yeah, I don't think...
have to get two duchies, an estate, and a province before Antconnected got anything at all.
Well, he can take a storeroom here, and I think it's possible to double duchy with the storeroom.
Let's see, they got 7 in hand. A little bit unlikely. They have to draw a gold by discarding. They could discard duchy, double copper, and if they can find a gold, then they hit it. That's actually not that unlikely with how many golds that would have.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just take a storeroom. I guess you take a couple mountain villages first, too, just in case you find more terminals, but I think storeroom is the correct pickup here.
Where exactly did this go wrong? I think it might have just been this opening was real slow to get going. We talked about the Theory Mountain Village, I don't think made a whole lot of sense, and they just went into villages very early on. Ironmonger, Ironmonger's not really a village early on, but then they got Mountain Village, and they got a lot of storerooms. I think the mass storms doesn't make a whole lot of sense in a money deck. Storeroom works well with Scholar, but I'm not seeing the value of storerooms for their deck.
Yeah, Storeroom is not a very good money card in general.
So the problem with Storeroom is it's using your hand size. You discard a number of cards and you draw equally many, but the Storm itself took up a spot in your hand. So like a 5-card hand of Storm ends up being a 4-card hand, and the fewer cards that you have in hand, the harder it's going to be to hit 8. With multiple Storms.
So Ant is approaching half the points on the board.
I like the Duchy buy from Ant. I think that was perfectly sensible. They could have played the Young Witch, try to get in a curse, and maybe also buy Duchy. But this seems like a nice, safe play. They've got a big lead. No point in blowing.
Yeah, I think if you can, as Ant, if you can buy Duchy, you just buy Duchy. And that's the play to make. There's no reason to risk losing the game by like missing Duchy a couple times.
Well, this is good because McWaffle was up 2-0, so Antconnected is coming back now.
Yep, and so Ant gets to trash a curse and buy Duchy this turn too, which is probably enough to just like seal the game.
I don't think McWaffle has that way back in.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm
like miraculously bad draw of me.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Like, because Ant only needs like to hit a couple of states, and that's basically half the VP. So for I have no idea. No, yeah, that one coin does literally nothing.
So Antconnected took 1 coin off of their amulet. They already had 6 in hand, so the 1 coin gets them to 7. There's literally nothing in this kingdom that could conceivably cost 7. So the coin is doing nothing. And they passed up on trashing a curse, which is just like 1 free point and 1 less jump card in your deck. I don't understand why they did that at all.
Yeah, there's no benefit to taking that. That's basically just like passing on your amulet play.
Antconnected, I think, is just still at the point where they're very much undervaluing trashing. And here the main value is taking the points. We've also seen a number of places where they're just like avoiding trashing cards.
All right, so McWaffle just decides to resign fancifully.
Right, going into game 4. Connected's turn to go first. What is it?
It should be it should be Antconnected, for sure.
That's right. McWaffle took 21 turns. Yep. Because if you look at the results part at the top center, it says player and Antconnected is labeled 1 and McWaffle is labeled 2. But in fact, that is not the player order.
That is the position you finished in. You can look at the number of turns to sometimes differentiate. So McWaffle took 21 turns to Antwaffle's 20, so McWaffle had to have gone first. All right, they're taking a quick break, so I guess I can take a quick break as well. Yeah, I'll be back in a few.
Is that McWaffle contemplating the previous game? What they did, I would describe as a money deck. If all you're doing is adding kilns and golds and no draw cards, I would not classify their deck as intention. So I'm wondering what they mean by just go money. Maybe they mean skip the villages. I think the correct strategy on the board is definitely to build intention, no question. The problem was that they took all the cards they needed for that except for the draw cards. I don't agree that the solution is to go more money-ish. The thing McWaffle never did is it seems like they were trying to build, but they still have all 6 coppers, plus their cursed gold, so all 7 treasures, plus all the starting estates. And certainly if you're trying to build, even if you're not trying to build often, if you can trash and play big money, you often still do some amount of trashing. But definitely if you're trying to build anything bigger, getting those starting cards out of the way is just so immensely important. It's so much harder to draw your deck. you're drawing 10 additional deadweight cards. It's like doing push-ups with like 200 pounds in it. On top of all the cards you actually do, and you have to spend so much drawing stuff. If you want your deck to ever rotate off and do a lot, everyone's got to be doing those coppers and push forwards and just looking at the deck composition, McWaffle has 7 golds and 5 cents. Antconnect is 3 golds. Oh, they have a lot of silvers. They ended up playing something that looked a whole lot like McWaffle. They just got a bunch of silvers, and I guess that's what they did. The criticism that I included more than silvers. We saw there's good crafting here, and develop, etc. You could deal with those crystals pretty easily. I didn't expect young ones to be bought, but McWaffle never got an angle, and that's the best thing to do with curses. And develop your crafting curse. If you play one develop, it crafting 1 curse. And if you play it once, it crafting potentially 2 curses. Because you craft 1 immediately and 1 to start your next turn. So I'm trying to get rid of curses, I'm taking it. Alright. McWaffle is ready to go.
Okay, I have returned.
Says McWaffle. Antconnected. Have a McWaffle? Is this a real food item? Is this just their wish for thinking? I think McDonald's definitely has pancakes.
McDonald's definitely has pancakes. Do they have waffles? Let's find out. Waffle cone sundae with fudge topping. No. McDonald's is testing a chicken waffle sandwich. That's from 2016 though, so.
It has to be from Georgia. Chicken and waffles, that just screams Atlanta.
Well, I mean, it's a southern thing, so yeah. Chicken and waffles is delicious though. Anyone who has not tried chicken and waffles, look, go to the South, get yourself some chicken and waffles, for real.
Right. So it seems that McWaffle's name is in fact just McDonald's fanfic.
I mean,
That's, however, I could very much believe exists in
look, if you want to do McDonald's fan fiction, that's more power to him.
I wouldn't complain if McDonald's served waffles. They serve plenty of breakfast food 24/7. It's a natural addition.
I mean, what are they even thinking? Like, waffles are just like pancakes, but much better. That's my personal opinion of waffles.
Maybe they're a rapper, like they're like MC Waffle.
Oh yeah. Well, you probably capitalize both the M and the C in that case, though.
Yeah, you're probably right. Maybe
but
they're Irish.
But if MC Waffle wants to like drop some fat beats, that's fine.
Yeah. Right, what do we got here?
We got Way of the Ox, which doesn't look particularly good here.
We've got trashing. You can get rid of the coppers with Spice Merchant. You can get rid of the states with Trading Post. We got action and kind of sort of draw with Hunting Lodge. We've got plus buy with Farmer's Market. I think you can build here.
Oh no, you definitely build here. I think Hunting Lodge and Farmer's Market, and I think unironically Mandarin.
I was about to think the same thing. could actually see buying Mandarin here. If Mandarin is just like a terrible card in general. +3 coins terminally is not an amazing effect, and the putting a card from your deck really hurts. It's like -2 draw instead of -1. Plus, putting all the treasures you have on the top of your deck is just usually awful. Because if you have any treasures in play and you top deck them, you're kind of guaranteeing a bad turn. But the reason I think Mandarin's good here, and I imagine this is what you were thinking as well, is Hunting Lodge is good draw if you have payload that you can play in the middle of your action phase. If you'd like to play your payload, or some of it, then redraw 5 new cards. And that works well with actions like with Mandarin to give 3 coins, but not with treasures, which you can't play until your buy phase.
Yep, that's pretty much it. So I think, like, alright, so openings here, I think Spice Merchant is generally... Spice Merchant's one of the cards... There's a few cards that you almost always open on every single board, and Spice Merchant is one of them. Being able to trash your coppers with tempo is really good. Meaning that you trash your cards and you also draw cards, and so you cycle through your deck faster, you get to your new purchases faster, you play your other cards faster, right? So that extra tempo from Spice Merchant helps to accelerate your deck and snowball you. Plus trash and copper, as we said before, is just, it's good to do. It's good to trash copper.
Yeah, I think I would take Spice Merchant Silver because I'd like to get Trading Post early. I think Spice Merchant Sage is also fine. Maybe even Spice Merchant Tracker.
I'm actually leaning Spice Merchant Tracker as the open. I think the problem with Tracker here is terminal space is not super great. But I think seeing as Spice Merchant's non-terminal, the Tracker boons and top decking effect definitely can help accelerate you as well. So I think I might actually do Spice Merchant Tracker open here.
The main benefit of Tracker, of course, is you can buy something good, you can top deck it immediately. It's faster, which is real nice.
Well, yeah.
Some boons in
So, all right, if you hit 5 with Tracker, then you're in the money, right? Hitting 5 with Tracker is amazing, because you get to top deck, a Trading Post, for instance, right away. But even 4 is fine. Top decking a Secret Passage or a Silver here is perfectly reasonable.
Speaking of trackers, McWaffle is open double Tracker turn 1.
Okay, that, I'm going to say, is too many trackers.
I'm going to agree with that.
When I said...
That means no Spice Merchant was opened with by either player, which is, I think, a huge mistake here.
As a side note, I think it's nice how McWaffle is teaching Antconnect what the cards do before each of the games.
Yeah.
Little camaraderie. I mean, you want your opponent to know what the rules of the game are. It's not particularly.
Yeah, I would totally answer questions about what the cards do.
Yeah, it's not particularly fun winning games against someone who doesn't know the rules.
Yeah, agreed. If I had some newbie in my league match, a Naismith or someone who's what's Way of the Ox do?
Yeah, if N.A. Smith's I don't know how any of these cards work. That guy. He's
honestly, I'm pretty sure I asked Cyrus how some card worked in my last league match. I asked him if Haunted Mirror could be triggered during the donate turn, and he said,
"Oh, yes, so. It can." That's actually a great time to trigger Haunted Mirror.
Yeah.
I mean, I've made rules mistakes too, but usually I just don't realize I don't know the rules until things happen I don't expect to happen. That's the usual point at which I don't understand the rules. Well, after it's a little bit too late.
Immediately, I think most players will be pretty forgiving and allow an undo.
Well, it depends on whether it's just an immediate thing that happens, or if it's something I was planning for and it ends up not working the way I thought it did.
That's true. You can predicate your entire strategy off of a misunderstanding.
I think it was last season where I didn't understand how exiling worked, and I was playing with I think transport or something. I just didn't know how exiling worked. And I was oh wait, I now know how exiling works, and everything I'm doing is terrible. Awesome.
No, we were just a minute ago extolling the contextual virtues of Mandarin in this kingdom, but I still really dislike McWaffle's choice to buy it turn 4. Mandarin is absolutely not the first 5 I'm getting. I think Trading Post is, without a shadow of a doubt, the first 5, and then probably even 1 or 2 Hunting Lodges before I get to Mandarin. Because
yes.
Mandarin comes after you have a thin deck with Hunting Lodges in it, and those. you open them early, you're never getting trash. Like, you want to get those estates out of the way for sure.
Yeah, I agree. There's the other. There's a few things going on here. The other thing to consider though is sometimes Tracker does let you trash cards, and so if Tracker gets you like an estate trash, I might skip the trading post altogether. Like if you open Spice Merchant Tracker and end up like trashing a state within like the next like shuffle, like you probably are okay skipping the trading post. But otherwise, you probably still want the trading post to get rid of estates. Because like adding like one dead card.
You know, add a trading post. You're still getting rid of 2 stop cards because not only are you getting rid of those estates, you can also get rid of that Spice Merchant as well with the trading post.
This is true. I don't. Yeah, maybe it's still fine. Ideally, well, I don't know. Like, ideally, Tracker just like if you have one Tracker, you're probably playing it like every single turn once you're set up here, and so you probably see each of the boons once, maybe. Yes, you're probably not getting more than one trash in with Tracker. Like realistically, maybe two if you're lucky.
It's taking place in the chat. Someone who it seems knows Ant is referring to him as Anton. Now, I've been thinking it was Antconnected, but maybe it's something Anton related. And I'm just misinterpreting what their name is.
I've been pronouncing Antconnected.
That's what I thought as well. Antconnected?
Antconnected. Sure, I'll go with that. Maybe it's just like a play on the name Anton and Ant.
Maybe it's like a combination of Anton and Antconnected.
It's true, it's a portmanteau.
Yeah.
Alright, anyway, back to this game.
Antconnected was a straightforward one, and McWaffle was the mystery. Maybe it goes in reverse.
Well, Antconnected is also spelled, like, connected is not spelled with, like, the O. It's like there's no O, there's missing a letter. So there is some mystery still to the connected.
Anton also ought to have an O in there. There's layers to this name that I'm not getting.
We need to peel back the mystery of this name. Alright, anyway, so they're
playing big money.
Yeah, they're just playing big money on this board, which is not. I don't think it's particularly competitive with the engine.
I
like
agree.
This board, you buy exactly 0 golds on. I'm pretty sure for the engine. Like I don't see any reason to ever get gold here. I think some combination of Mandarin and Farmer's Market is going to be your payload.
The other thing worth pointing out is Antconnected is still in this habit of buying coppers at every turn, which means they're going to perform very poorly in a Kingdom with Pouch in it, which gives you a bunch of plus buys starting very early on.
Yeah.
See, turn 1 they bought a copper, turn 3 they bought another copper. They just fill in the deck with coppers.
So if Anton, if you watch, or Antconnected, if you watch this, and you take away one single lesson, it's don't buy copper. That's the number 1 lesson.
Yes. Not only do you not buy copper, you get rid of the copper. Remember, we were just saying, like, Spice Merchant, far and away, obvious opening here. That's the one card you definitely get. Why? Because it gets coppers out of your deck.
Yes. Copper bad. Copper bad is just like a good rule of thumb. Copper bad.
Yes, copper bad. How many trackers? How are there 7 trackers taken? That's like the most trackers.
Yeah, I don't know. Like 1 tracker is pretty good for top decking. Multiple trackers is not doing you a whole lot though. I mean, I guess you get to like here, like McWaffle can ox one of the trackers and play the other 2. So there's that at least.
You spend 3 cards to get 2 copper, and they're gonna do that. So at least there's that interaction.
Top decks a gold, which is fine. Ooh, it draws the gold. Look at that province. Boom. Tracker power right there.
OP.
Top decking the gold and drawing it with the 2 boons.
Also about to buy province.
Alright, so boons in general are fine. Like there's a lot of like pretty decent boons. They're not overwhelmingly great, but boons here and there are fine. Oh, what are we doing?
Trackers. So many.
Oh my god, this is so many trackers. This is so many trackers.
these trackers are often just going to be coppers for you, and they're like terminal coppers. So you draw one copper, it prevents you from playing your other copper. Quasi-terminal, because you can play them with Way of the Ox. So like 3 trackers would end up being like 2 coppers. I like a tracker in the deck. I think is fine for the top deck effect. Maybe an early boost if you can get like a top deck trading post, but more than one tracker I think should not happen.
Here I assume you toss a state tracker. Yeah. Gains a silver, I guess that's fine, and that's enough for another province, which is fine. I would take the province.
It cannot hit province, so I would top deck the silver, because there's no value in having 7. Save the silver for next turn. Oh no, they top deck a copper.
Yeah, no, you gotta top deck the silver there.
Yeah, they should definitely count that out, because most kingdoms will have nothing costing 7. There's no value there in hitting 7.
Mm-hmm.
It will save your silver for next turn instead of putting a copper on deck for next turn and having a worse next one.
Truffles has arrived to comment on the Mandarins. So I'll just say,
we did just say Mandarin could get played here. But
no, I think Mandarin is like legitimately viable here in the engine. Not in the money deck. You don't want Mandarin in the money deck, but in the engine, like Mandarin's like serious, like okay payload.
I agree.
And that's very rare because Mandarin is just generally like a very bad card.
Mandarin is one of those cards that's just almost always ignorable at 95% of it. Back. I want to have exactly 8, I think, if I am Anton can... Player 1. If I'm player 1, I want to have 8. So I'm putting back a silver.
So I can see, there's the combination, or there's a competition between Band of Misfits and Mandarin. So the, I mean, yes, McWaffle's hand is sad, but it's also the cards he put into his deck. So there's that.
Yeah, like Truffles just joining might think, oh, McWaffle found all 3 of their trackers.
No, he found half it. He found like half his trackers.
That deck is like 2/3 trackers right now. Very much self-imposed.
Anyway, back to the comment about like Band of Misfits versus Mandarin. Band of Misfits can be quite good in this deck as well because it can play farmers markets and occasionally can play passages if you need it to. So Band of Misfits is fine too. There's some like.
That's a good point. One thing to add on to that is the farmers market has this thing where it trashes itself for points at the end. If Misfits as farmers market, you get the points and you don't have to trash it. Because Band of Misfits is playing a farmer's market directly from the supply, and the farmer's market and the supply can't trash itself. So you kind of get all the upside, none of the downside. So Band of Misfits is also competitive, I think, versus Mandarin. One benefit of Mandarin, though, is if you get like 2 hunting lodges in the same hand, you could top... No, that doesn't work. Ignore that last thing I was about to say. Obviously, you could top deck 1 hunting lodge, but then the next one is just going to draw it.
Right. There is some benefit to just like you draw your deck and then you just play Mandarin to top deck a hunting lodge if you have 1 left over. But you can also get that same effect with Secret Passage. So maybe it's not quite so like the top decking effect is probably not quite so great there.
Face is asking me to imagine this game but with Swindler. I will decline to do so. I do not acknowledge that card's existence.
It's on my ban list, so there we go.
Very good choice.
Actually, I didn't comment on the ban list. They have anything bans? Okay, let's see ban lists. Enchantress, Possession, Swindler. Okay, so there is no Swindler. Enchantress is an interesting ban. I don't think there's room on my...
I've never met someone who dislikes Enchantress.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen Enchantress on the ban list before. Like, it's not completely unreasonable because there's like a lot of swinginess regarding Enchantress like early in the game. But there's just like...
Truffles has it on their ban list.
Oh, okay. I think there's just like too many other worse cards, like worse offenders than Enchantress.
This is a fair point. Truffles is saying Enchantress does kind of favor player 1 because your Enchantress attacks their Enchantress, and she's not really wrong about that. Possession and Swindler, though, are the 2 cards I would ban if I could only ban 2 cards, no question. So these are very understandable.
Okay, anyway, back to the Band of Misfits versus Mandarin, though. So Mandarin always produces 3 coins, whereas on average, Farmers Market produces 2 coins. So you do get a little extra economy.
Real quick, related to the game, this could be a good Mandarin buy, maybe? You can top deck 7 coins here. You just barely miss Province. And you might actually use the Mandarin top deck effect to get a good next turn.
Yes, this is actually
better than Dusty. Top deck that Mandarin too. You can top deck Mandarin with Tracker and other coins. You're hitting 10.
I agree. I like the Mandarin buy right now. As McWaffle.
Sorry to cut you off though. You were, I think, in the middle making a point.
No, I was just saying like the average economic output of Mandarin is slightly higher than that in a farmer's market. So that's like another consideration between the two of them.
Definitely not play Mandarin to the exclusion of farmer's market.
No. Like yeah. You absolutely play with farmers markets here. Like that's 100% for sure. It's just a question of like if all of your 5s are just hunting lodges and bands, or if you throw in a Mandarin or 2.
Ant is going for Fiatum.
I mean, it might not be a terrible idea, given his position.
For that to matter very much. What are you scoring for them? Like,
one or two. If you had a trading post, like you probably have a few more silvers, so you get a little extra value out of that.
Already pretty late in the game. You're not going to power up those Fiatum in time.
This is another province from McWaffle.
Mandarin play as well there on their turn. They had 7, right?
They did. They did not have the tracker in play though, so they couldn't have guaranteed the top deck.
They could have just played like silver and gold and top deck just the good portion of their treasures. It's also a consideration.
Mm-hmm. I mean, McWaffle should draw here, right? And then like this is a clear.
Definitely by province, no question.
It's a clear province.
Now McWaffle, I think, is in an open spot. Because there's 2 provinces left. And Antconnect now has to get both of them.
GG X360 asks a great question. Why are so many people watching this game?
This is a league match between Antconnected and McWaffle to determine who's advancing to G Division. There's a lot on the line.
Yeah, you don't typically see 10 specs, I don't think, for an H League match.
Usually it's a lot higher.
Yeah, like usually there's in the thousands nationally televised.
Yeah, like if it'd be on ESPN, it'd be news. This one's just flying under the radar, I guess, because it's kind of early in the season still. To be fair, we're answering their question, but if they aren't even sure why this game has people spectating, they're probably not listening to our dialogue.
No, there's no way they're actually like.
Yeah. I can check.
We're not being helpful at all. No, it's fine.
They definitely are not.
Okay, so these two apparently know each other, or Clark Kent's 786's real name is Sam. So.
You mean Superman?
Well, they're completely different people, right? Clark Kent has glasses. Superman does not have glasses. Like, they're not the same person.
Superman's real name isn't even Superman. What's his name? Like Kal-El or something?
Kal-El, yeah. That's his Kryptonian name.
The person unrelated to Clark Kent. Yeah, that person's name is Kal-El.
Yes, yeah.
Alright, as McWaffle, I think I just buy Dutchy. It doesn't really matter. They've got enough of a points lead that I don't think Ant can come back here.
No, this looks pretty over. It'll just take a few turns to play out. They did leave. You're my mod, Truffles, so there's that.
I know who my mod is.
You don't know who your mod is? Like, that's like... Don't you have to, like, fill in the form that says who your mod is? Like, that's part of...
I did fill in a form asserting that I knew who my mod was. At the time I filled that out, I must have known the answer.
That's why the form exists, so you know who your moderator is. Okay, you were breaking the system.
Like a weekly form or something.
I'm not a troublemaker. I'm a fun maker. It's just I happen to find trouble to be fun, so there's that.
I don't see how Ant can conceivably win this. I guess if I were them, I might consider not even playing the secret passage because you trigger a shuffle. But you also get to choose what your top deck is. I don't even know.
I think you play and like you top deck like a gold or something and you're buying more fiefdoms. I don't know. I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, Antconnected world back in this is somehow McWaffle misses 8 million times and they get like a bunch of Fiat.
It's gonna take a good old while.
Yeah, I agree with top deck gold by Fiat here. And then eventually McWaffle's trackers.
Or just buy a state and end it. All right, we'll just resign fancily.
Falling on the sword. Victor Crumb play.
All right, that's game 4, right?
Wait, are you kidding? A Libby is my mod? I would not have guessed that.
Wait, that doesn't even it's not even like an, oh yeah, he is my mod. It's like, oh wait, no, I completely, literally forgot everything.
That doesn't even ring a bell.
Okay, no, that's okay. Truffles is just a liar. That's fine.
I would have believed it too. If she hadn't corrected herself, I totally would have believed it was A Libby, and that I was just mistaken.
Yeah, they've both gone twice, gone first twice now, so it doesn't really matter as long as they switch it up for the last 2. All right, McWaffle does lead 3-1 currently in the series. Ooh, this board, this board's something for sure. So let's talk about opening buys. You're always opening Masquerade on this board.
100%. Masquerade draws and trashes, 2 things that are very good.
Basically, for every reason that we said Spice Merchant was good in the last game, Masquerade is good for here. It draws, it trashes, and it does so like it does 2 things that are both really good at the same time.
I think my ideal opening, which could be subverted with tax, like Masquerade plus Sinister plot, start getting those plot tokens.
If I'm on the
that's easier as player 2 than player 1.
Well, or player 1 if you have the 4/3. Yeah, I think if there was no tax, I'm pretty sure plot mask is the proper open.
I still am enjoying McWaffle explaining to Anton how he
it's kind of adorable.
It is. Yeah, so Masquerade, you draw with like Margrave and Hamlet, and then you just like murder your opponent's deck with Mountebank.
Yeah.
And then probably they never really kicks off because Mountebank is very strong.
I think I think you can stay ahead. There's a couple different things in this board that are all kind of annoying and work together. So, Margrave is a discard attack. It makes your hand size smaller, and Masquerade forces you to pass a card. So the combination of Margrave and Masquerade often means that you're holding onto a bad card just so you can pass it to Masquerade, which means that normally Margrave would discard you down to 3, but like effectively it discards you down to 2 because you need to hold onto a bad card. So like Margrave Masquerade combo is like very brutal on this board.
Yeah, this is just a painful kingdom. I had Masquerade banned for a while, but I used to not like it. But Mountebank is still my ban.
Mountebank, I think Mountebank's either ban or dislike for me. I don't know if I moved it off of ban on the dislike. So Mountebank is it's a very, very strong card because it gives out 2 junk cards, both a curse and a copper, and so like it junks twice as good as other junking cards typically. But there's the if they don't, they gain a curse and a copper, for instance. And so, or sorry, they can discard a curse part. So it's also really, really swingy because if I play Mountebank and you have a curse, and you play Mountebank and I don't have a curse, all of a sudden like you're ahead by 2 junk cards, and so things can start snowballing very, very quickly if like I block a couple of them and you don't block a couple of them. That's like game over, right? So it's a very strong card, but also a very swingy card, which is why a lot of people put it on their ban or dislike list.
Also, it just leads to like games that are full of coppers and curses where you're not doing a whole lot in your deck.
Yeah.
And independently, I think those are often less enjoyable. Now, the one other thing I was going to mention about Mountebank is kind of similar to Masquerade. It also has bad synergy with Margrave, or good synergy for the person playing it, real bad for the person being afflicted. Is if you have to discard with Margrave before you get hit with Mountebank, you either have to hold on to like a curse, or like a 2-card hand, or you can't block the Mountebank. If you formally had a curse on hand, you discard it.
Well, and the three of them synergize together, right? Because if you discard with Margrave, and you want to hold on to a curse to discard to Mountebank, well, then you're down to 2 cards in hand, and Masquerade passes, and so, like, you're effectively playing with, like, a single card.
Before the Mountebank and pass you a copper or an estate, you have to pass them their curse.
Yeah, it's like some... It's like very, very nasty interactions between these 3 cards here.
Now, Troubles is pointing out that they both open with Candlestick Maker, which is not a good idea. Mostly because Candlestick Maker is not Masquerade, and Masquerade's a good card.
Well...
Candlestick Maker is kind of like copper-ish.
Yeah. Like, so let's talk about, like, tax kingdoms in general, because they create some weird things that they... Because there's a lot of times there's, like, normal, like, opening wisdom, or, like, conventional wisdom for opening buys. So on a board like this, you want to hit 5, because Mountebank is very, very good. And so typically taking debt is not good for hitting 5, right? So if I want to take a Masquerade, I don't also want to take a silver, because then I'll be taking a debt with it. So like, it's kind of difficult to work with that. So sometimes, like, you just open in such a way that you're probably not going to hit 5, and you kind of just have to, like, live with it.
I think if you can avoid, if you can do it, Masquerade plot. You can't Masquerade raise, I think, is the next best choice, and you can definitely do without taking debt going into turn 3. If I'm buying a 2-cost card, I'm buying raise, because it's another good trasher. Not quite as good as Masquerade, but still very good. And helping me a lot more in the early game than Candlestick Maker is.
And so raise is a good trasher for the same reason like Masquerade and Spice Merchant is, right? Because it trashes a card, but it also draws you cards and gets to your deck faster. So like, it's sort of in the same family. It is better at trashing a state. Yeah. Raise is a very common open on a lot of boards because it's very likely that you find raise with an estate. And being able to raise an estate and draw some cards, like cycle through faster, is just a very, very powerful effect. But it is really bad at trashing coppers. It's not the...
I think raise is one of the stronger 2-cost.
Yeah, I would say raise... I would say raise gets opened... Like, you should open raise on, like, a good number of boards.
Candle... Raise looks real good.
Yeah. Candlestick Maker is a card that you should probably almost never open, because it's really not much better than just like opening copper. So like,
I really, really dislike the fact that 7 Candlestick Makers.
And zero Mountebanks.
Yeah. So the argument for taking 1 Candlestick Maker at least makes some sense, which is, I wouldn't do it, but at the very least you get some coffers, and like having like a few coffers can like smooth out your buys, right? You like bank up a coffer or 2. So if you miss a key price point by 1, you can still buy them. Like hit 4, you want to hit 5, you just spin 1 of your coffers.
Yeah.
If most of your economy is coming from those coffers, and you're playing them all and then spinning the coffers again the same turn, it's functionally no different than just being like a copper, because it's giving you like +1 coin. And so the more Candlestick Makers you buy, the closer and closer they get to just flooding your deck with coppers, which, as we said, is definitely not a thing you want to do.
The problem with Candlestick Maker, particularly on this board, is it's the worst 2-cost card by like a good margin. Like Hamlet and Raise are both significantly better.
State with like a word.
Okay, so Ant's buying coppers again. Ant's taking. Ant's taking.
Ant's been buying coppers every one of these.
Yeah, but this time he's taking debt to buy coppers, which is definitely not great.
Oh my, yeah, I definitely don't do that. Debt to buy coppers is double win on your debt. Town also got a Noble Brigand, despite the fact that
no one has silver
and no golds in either of their decks. And conceivably, Noble Brigand could still do something, because if it misses gold and silver, it still has a chance of giving your opponent a copper. But as we've seen, Ant believes copper is a good card, so I can't explain why they bought the Noble Brigand.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty inexplicable. Anyway, yeah, so they're playing like Candlestick Money, I guess, which
That's not a version of money I've ever heard of.
yeah, it's not super exciting to me. And they're avoiding like the good attacks. So Margrave and Mountebank are both very good attacks in general. It's true. No, Nolringen does give you a money, so
They're
there's
just
that.
playing with all the copper variants. The only thing they need to do now is just pick up a giant and only play it once. And they'll have played every variant of copper that there is.
What other cards are copper variants? Well, Tracker from last game is a copper variant.
They really like the tracker.
I'm pretty sure McWaffle had more trackers than Ant, though. I think the trackers were mostly McWaffle.
A Ruin Library is a copper variant.
Sure, Ruin Library. It's a copper variant.
Not a whole lot of +1 coin cards.
Yeah, Poorhouse, like, sometimes.
Most of the cards, if you put training on them.
It's true. You could train. I don't know. You could train Noble Brigand, and it's a 2 cost. It's a silver.
I did say Ruin Library, didn't I? I meant the
yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah, the mine.
Yeah, library is the one that draws you a card.
How? Oh, you know what's a great copper variant? Ruin Village that's trained.
That actually is most accurate copper variant. Abandoned Mine. Is it Abandoned Mine or Ruined Mine? Abandoned Mine with Lost Arts on it, or Ruined Village with training on it.
Ooh, imagine getting both. Plus, imagine getting plus action and plus coin on your ruins pile. That's the winning right there.
Who has that?
Waffle just bought. Wait, he's got. Wait, what?
Waffle's got 2.
I mean, I'll be honest. I don't hate buying 2 Mountebanks that turn.
It's the best decision I think either of us made all game for sure. Mountebank's a real strong card.
And Waffle can just like tax the Mountebanks now.
This is
Not true. Opening plot was, I think, a solid decision for sure. I would probably just
choose between Mountebank and plot though. Definitely insane.
I would just like tax Mountebank here, I guess. Save your coffers.
Yeah, I like that idea. Bank sounds good to me. The other option, I think, at the moment is Raise. Because trashing is still good, and they're still very behind on it.
Raise is a lot worse now that you're... Ooh, Masquerade. Alright, now we're talking. The problem with Raise now is, like, you're running out of, like, opportunities to actually pair it with a state.
Raise is real happy finding states, much more so than...
Yeah, but it's hard to, like, line this up now that your deck is, 1 Raise and 3 estates and a bunch of other stuff. As opposed to opening with it, where your deck is, 3 states, 1 Raise, and not a whole lot of other stuff.
This is not a very good kingdom for Sheepdog, which is sad.
He's such a good boy. Look at this. Look at him. Good boy. Look at that guy. Aww.
So, like, the ways you activate it here could be getting attacked by your opponent's Mountebank, or gaining a gold or silver off of Noble Brigand. Neither of which are things you can really reliably play around.
Correct. And it just draws worse than, like, more Margraves or Masquerades, so I don't think you ever buy Sheepdog on this board.
I don't think I would take it. Third pile should not be at 9, and Margrave and Hamlet, I think, Margrave and Hamlet should not be at 10. Raise should also not be at 10. I think they have decided incorrectly that Candlestick Maker is the key card of this.
Yeah, Candlestick Maker's just, like, doesn't really do anything.
I think you're 1 Candlestick Maker. Any more are actively hurting your deck.
I think 1 is already too many on this board. I think 0 Candlestick Makers is the correct number of Candlestick Makers for this board.
For sure, I would not buy a Candlestick because it's competing with Hamlet and Raise, which is better. If you offered me a free Candlestick Maker, I think I would take 1 for free, and I'd turn you down after the first one.
You know what? I think it would depend on when you're offering me the candlestick maker. If you offer me a free candlestick maker early, I would not take it. I could see fitting it into like a once the deck is starting to come together, like throwing a candlestick maker into there seems like okay.
So Andre Winder is pointing out that on tax, sometimes it's player three or not player three, player two. You often just buy whatever player one bought, even though it's like in the abstract a little bit suboptimal because it A doesn't come with tax, so you can afford it without taking the debt, and then B it doesn't take the tax off another pile, giving player one a better thing to buy. That being said, yeah, I also agree that it's not a good strategy here because Masquerade Raise is something you could buy. You could pay off the tax on both of them, even if your opponent didn't buy either of them, and go into turn 3 debt free with 2 good cards.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got our first Mountain Bank play, so that's exciting.
Well, big mistake giving Ant more coppers. Now they're in their element.
All right, I think this might be too many. I don't think you need 3 Mountain Banks, but maybe it's fine actually. If you're playing like a fat money deck, 3 Mountain Banks is fine.
Yeah, so it looks like McWaffle does not plan on building the like Margrave Hamlet.
Oh no, like they're not going to engine. Yeah, they're playing money again. The Copper's not going to pile. There's no way Copper piles.
Here, Ant has a lot of plus buy, the tendency to buy copper.
There's still 39 Coppers in the deck though. That's okay, that's 5. No, McWaffle has 5 Mountebanks. Oh no, sorry, Ant bought one of them. Okay, McWaffle has 4 Mountebanks.
I like that Ant bought a Mountain Bank.
I agree. I mean, these Mountebanks all came too late, but it's better late than never.
It's very, very much later than it ought to have been. It has not hit 5. Surely they've been hitting 5 plenty of times with all these coffers around. They've just been past. It makes me sad when I look at what they bought, and the answer is they spent 2 coins and bought a copper. Okay, so one more thing to comment on is Ant did buy a gold turn 7. I dislike that a lot. I think newer players buy gold way, way more than they ought to. I think it happens whenever they hit 6. They're like, oh, with this 6 cost cards, it must be better than all the 5 cost cards, and so they click on the gold. When in reality, gold is pretty mediocre when stacked up against most 5 cost actions. I think I would take any of Mountebank, Margrave, or Hagler in a heartbeat over gold. Even if I had 6, if I had 7, no matter how much. I'm buying the card that's better for my deck, not the card that doesn't fit. Gold, I think, is a big misplay.
I think, yeah. So, I agree with the general rule. Like, just don't buy gold. Obviously, like sometimes you should buy gold, but if you just, I think newer players would be a lot better off if they just never bought gold. Obviously, like, that's not like a good general rule, but I think never buying gold would improve their play in general because they overbuy gold so much.
I think if you follow the rule never buy gold, you'd be much closer to optimal play than the average.
Wander Rider disagrees with me, but like here's the thing. There's enough boards where you can skip gold completely, and it's fine. In fact, preferable. Most boards you probably. I'm trying to be like percentages. I think you do buy like some gold on a lot of boards, right? Like this board right here, like you probably buy gold on this board, but not until you're already set up and drawing. But like gold is fine, like payload card here. But if you just didn't buy gold for like the first, maybe a better rule, like don't buy gold for like the first 8 turns or something. It would be a better general rule.
Well, if you're already stipulating that it's a general rule, I think you're in a good spot. Because the context where you want to gold, I think, are easy enough to identify, which is like, I've already got all the action cards I need, and I'm just adding money of some sort. And then
well, yeah.
Buy gold.
All right. Let's talk with like some.
If you ever choose between gold and an action, the answer is probably the action. I think.
All right, let me give some like advice that I think is actually probably more helpful, like some like general tips. 1, trashing is good, and trashing early is better than trashing late. 2, draw is good, and 3, Draw first, then add payload. Obviously, sometimes you don't want to always like get your draw going first, or sometimes you want to add payload before you get your draw completely going. But it's usually better off to get drawing first and then add payload, as opposed to adding payload and then trying to get draw off the ground.
I agree with all that. I'm wondering why Wandering Winder seems to think it's bad advice. I think a very common mistake that you see very frequently in lower level games is buying gold much more frequently and much sooner than you want.
Well, I
think gold is usually a mistake. It's very good advice because it corrects that tendency to overbuy gold.
I mean, I know what he's saying though, because like never buying gold is also like pretty bad advice, but like it's sort of like an overreaction because new players tend to buy gold way too much, and to say like to never buy gold is a complete overreaction. I would be okay like when I say never buy gold, I'm being like a little bit hyperbolic. Like obviously sometimes you buy gold, but like
rarely buy gold.
Try
like just you buy curses occasionally.
Just try not to buy gold as hard as you can.
With all your might, and if it ends up in your deck, then...
Another good rule is, so here's the thing, gold is not necessarily a bad card in your deck, but buying gold is often not the best way to add them. So a lot of times there's like ways to gain gold that aren't directly buying them, and typically when there's a way to gain gold that's not buying gold, that's the best way to get gold into your deck.
That's another good point. Is if you have a card like Bandit from the base set, or Courtier, or Soothsayer, or Governor, and you to the point where you want gold in your deck, it is almost always better to add the card that just gains you golds. If you buy that once, you get gold for the rest of your game. It always makes me sad when I watch like a base game and they buy gold when Bandit's around.
Yeah. I think it's usually incorrect to buy gold when there's a gold gainer. You know, just as another general rule. I think that applies to silver as well. Gaining silver is generally better than buying silver. But I will say sometimes you still buy silver like on the opening buy, because you know.
You buy silver more often than gold because it's useful in the early.
Yeah, so silver is usually pretty good at like getting you to 5 cost. So like if you're looking at a board and you're looking at the 5 cost cards and you're like, I really want one of those 5 cost cards, silver is a pretty good way to get to the 5 cost cards. But like, don't keep buying silver, right? Like opening silver is fine. Adding silver like as needed, like as your draw is going, as you need more economy, you can add more silver. Or if you're playing money, like if you're playing a money deck, you can add a bunch of silver. But like any sort of like engine-y board, like you might buy like 1 silver or 2 silver, and then that's it. And usually, if you're buying silver, you're buying it only on the opening.
So Ant is actually ahead in points here, which is a little surprising because I think McWaffle had the better play of taking a bunch of mountebanks. We did see last turn and this turn, I guess, or last shuffle and this turn. McWaffle has had a bit of unfortunate collisions. Given how thick their deck is, it was a little surprising how many times they lined up all of their... like this hand again. They've lined up a large portion of their terminals.
Well,
they're trying to resolve that by buying Hamlets. They probably should have bought those Hamlets much sooner instead of their Candlestick Maker. If that Candlestick Maker were a Hamlet, they'd be in a very fine position for this turn.
Yeah, so it is important to be like proactive instead of reactive. So like on a board like this, like you realize you have a bunch of terminal collisions, and then you buy Hamlets. Well, by that point, like the damage is kind of already done. Realizing like balancing your terminals versus your villages and whatnot is like that's a skill that should be developed. But like getting a feel for okay, I have this many terminals in my deck, they're this likely to collide. So you know like I need this many villages to kind of support this deck. So like getting a good feel for like how many like balancing like terminals and villages and whatnot is it's a good skill. Truffles is suggesting pile pressure. What are the piles? Like there's Mountebank, Candlestick Maker, and I guess Curses?
All run.
Oh, Hamlets are low too.
Buy Hamlet here.
Yeah, that's true. Given the point lead, McWaffles probably doesn't like hit provinces very easily either, so I could see it. I'm not sure if that's better than just taking treasure. But then again, the treasure is like all deaded up now, so maybe it's fine.
silver, they taxed gold, and they taxed Candlestick Maker. I don't know why they did any of those.
Yeah, like buying tax isn't always like the most. Like I think on tax boards, it's not usually correct to buy tax unless you have like exactly 2 and nothing else to buy, and you just kind of like buy it for fun, or like to tax a pile like that might have some strategic advantage. There's probably some like
it's competing with hamlets and raisins. So
yeah.
Hard.
Like there are some reasons to like actually buy tax, but I think those are
the Margrave example earlier, where taxing Margrave might have made some sense. Or not Margrave, not
to make like and that situation again only came up because like McWaffle had exactly 2, right? Like if McWaffle had 3 or 4 coins, like I wouldn't tax it.
Even then, like a razor hamlet could have potentially been fine. We see McWaffle end up using the hamlets. For some reason, so McWaffle's saying, for some reason I thought it was netting actions, and I definitely am not.
Netting actions?
Candlestick Maker was a village?
Candlestick Maker is not a village. Candlestick Maker just gives you 1 action.
So, maybe what they were thinking this whole time was like Candlestick Maker says plus action, so it'll help me play more actions. It functions as a village, like a card that helps you play more action cards in a turn. It needs to say, very roughly, plus 2 actions. Because if a card just says plus 1 action, all it's doing is covering its own cost. Like every card costs 1 action to play, so it gives you 1 action back. All it's doing is breaking even and back where you were before. So if you have like a bunch of terminal action cards like Mountebank and Masquerade in your hand, and a Candlestick Maker, you play that Candlestick Maker, you're still back at 1 action. You would need something like Hamlet's discard effect to get a second plus action to be able to play multiples of those other cards.
Yeah. So again, the advice you gave before I think is good. Just like understand every card comes with it, and every action card comes with an implicit -1 card, -1 action. So a card that just says +1 card, +1 action is just replacing itself, which is fine. Like you can play those cards, but like if you want to play other cards, you do need like more actions beyond just like the 1. Or if you want to draw cards, you need more draw cards beyond just the 1. McWaffle did buy a province, right?
Looks like it.
Turn 17. Turn 17's a little weird, though. McWaffle discarded a Mountebank for a plus action, and then played the Mountebank, so he could have just discarded a copper for plus action and played both Mountebanks instead.
It's probably not going to matter here, but it's always weird to me when you have like a hand that's like Mountebank, Candlestick Maker, Hamlet, Copper. I would play the Hamlet first. Just instinctively, you have a card that's giving you new info, right? The Hamlet will show you a new card that you drew. Playing the Mountebank and playing the Candlestick Maker don't give you new info, and so I would always play the new info card first, the Hamlet first, because maybe you draw something that could change your decision later on. Like you draw a Masquerade and a Hamlet, and you discard that Candlestick Maker later for plus action or something like that. And so in general, also just like playing your terminal action cards like Mountebank and stuff before your draw and your action just seems like a very weird order.
Yeah.
Not that that was a particularly egregious example, but I would get in the habit of play your actions and draw first. Give the payload cards like Mountebank at the end.
Although sometimes like people take that a little bit too far, because sometimes you do want to play, because sometimes like the cards you play will reorder like cards in your deck, or they'll add cards to your deck or something like that. So there are reasons to like not do that as well. So you do need to be careful. But in general, with a card like Mountebank, which doesn't affect your like the cards you're going to be drawing, you should draw your cards first.
There'll definitely be a lot of exceptions to that. The better you get at playing your cards in the proper order and understanding the game. It's definitely also a good general rule to have in base.
So, did he just?
I like all of a sudden. I don't know how the game got this way.
Well, Ant just. All right, so Ant just spent 2 coffers, and I would not have spent those coffers at all. I would have kept both of those coffers.
So why?
Taxing the province pile. That's interesting.
I like taxing the province pile.
No, I would have just bought province and then that was it, and saved the coffers. Could try the province again next turn.
Like, the scenario where Ant loses is not one where, like, Waffle buys the provinces undeterred by tax. It's one where Ant fails to hit 8 a bunch of times.
Yes.
And coffers can help turn those $7 and $6 turns into $8.
Yeah, so Waffle's buying a duchy, which I guess is... I'm not so sure about the duchy. Maybe it's fine.
I guess McWaffle's problem is they just over-terminal themselves. They added too many mountebanks and masquerades, no actions.
Yeah.
And they're getting a lot of growth hands like this
one. People are like... Honestly, right now, Candlestick Maker is probably fine. Like, we can lower piles as Ant, like, aiming for a 3-pile finish.
State is also fine. Ant is looking at a 30-card deck. The chances they see that estate before the end of the game are basically 0.
Mm-hmm.
You can just take the points.
Alright, the last curse gets handed out. So curses are gone.
McWaffle buy. But not buy an estate from McWaffle because I don't want the debt. Probably just a Hamlet.
I would... Sure, why not? I don't know, because I don't want to lower piles as McWaffle, though. So I'd probably just, like, buy nothing. Or, like, tax.
Taxes? I don't know, I'm not sure what taxes are.
Truffles is confused as to why there are more coppers gone than should be. That's because Ant likes to buy coppers.
Yeah, Ant has been buying coppers this entire match. But 1 copper was given out with Noble Brigand. Can't discount that.
That's true. That means... I think that means that Ant bought 9 coppers this game.
A lot of it. Clearly buying coppers is the right strategy because they're winning.
I mean, it has paid off, so there's that.
Antconnect is playing a little money.
I don't know why we discarded for action there.
That's a good question. Just threw away.
Yeah, just cost himself a coffer. Yeah, discard at the end of that chain. Like, only discard if you're gonna need the action, right? So like you draw cards first, and then you say, okay, I need the action. Then you can discard.
Yeah, exactly. Going back to the other thing is like you want to make decisions with less uncertainty. If a bunch of Hamlets that have yet to draw, play the other Hamlets and then wait to the last Hamlet because you can make the decision in a more informed manner once you've seen more of your cards.
Now there should be some curse exchanging going on right here.
Connect can get 2 duchies. Even in the spot where both provinces won't McWaffle.
Yeah, I think McWaffle's going to need quite a bit here to finish out a win.
Waffle deliberating long and hard whether to pass the curse.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I don't know what the holdup is. Like, you just exchange curses here.
Choice, very tough choice. Draw. Probably the better of the choices.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I guess you buy duchy. It's fine.
I'm not buying anything worth more than 2 because I want to hold on to those coppers to help me hit 8.
It's going to be hard for this game to end on provinces because both their decks are so bad. Like they're so junky though. Like I think like duchies and Hamlets makes more sense or something. Like I don't know if anyone's going to hit province again. Their decks are really, really, really junky.
They also have a lot of candlestick makers, so they can bank up. Well, they can. They're not actually banking up the coffers over time, but they could, if they wanted to, bank up coffers over a few turns to hit province.
Truffle thinks Hamlet's won't empty. Hamlet should empty. Like, if you're Ant, you're just buying Hamlet here and buying Hamlet again on, like, sub 5 carrots. Like, just, like, drain piles.
I like a Hamlet buy for the upcoming turn.
He might tax again, sure. He'll probably tax over copper. My guess is he taxes Duchy. That's my...
Duchy's alright, too. The grounds of, like, those piles split kind of evenly, Ant wins. And
Yeah.
taxing makes it hard for you to get on a run of buying a bunch of them before your opponent buys. If I tax Province and tax Duchy and end up buying them anyways, Ant, I'm fine. But I just need a portion of those piles to win.
Okay.
And so the tax just guarantees that there's no scenario where either player, importantly McWaffle, buys multiples in a row before you get a chance.
What is the odds are this game ends on a copper pile out? Ooh, Hamlet. I love that Hamlet buy. Excellent. That's my...
I like the Hamlet.
That is the clear buy, in my opinion.
So yeah, this could be a Hamlet Duchy pile out. To block the copper attack from Mountain Bank. Oh wait, no, it's their turn first. I'm mistaken. I was thinking of the Ant's turn. McWaffle will have a brand new hand by the time Ant plays that Mountain Bank.
Alright, do we have Duchy here?
Oh, it's McWaffle. You shouldn't buy Duchy.
I would not, yeah. McWaffle needs to be angling for provinces.
I would tax Hamlet actually. Hamlet, because that's a key pile that Ant wants to buy.
I might tax
And
Duchy over Hamlet.
Tax Duchy. Duchy's fine too. Yeah, I could do tax Duchy.
This will be another Duchy buy for Ant. The sheepdog doesn't really make sense to me. I don't know what it's doing.
If you have to take debt to buy a sheepdog, you're likely never playing.
Yeah.
Want to save up those coffers because you know your deck is not built to hit 8 naturally. You really gotta save up some coffers over a few turns, and that's how you're hitting 8.
Yeah.
And if
Although this is a province here, right?
Yeah, even with the debt, they can spin a coffer.
Yeah, it's a province.
Right? We're making progress.
That makes the game a little more exciting, with McWaffle taking the province here.
Interesting to me that although Ant buys coppers when they have the chance, they also discard the curse from the Mountain Bank to prevent themselves from getting coppers.
Mm-hmm, that's true. A little inconsistent there. This game's still, this is still not out of range for McWaffle.
Yeah, one more lucky draw, they could have it.
Could tax Duchy here as Ant. Could just buy Hamlet.
No, as Ant, I wouldn't mind buying Duchy, I think.
Ant can't buy Duchy.
I mean, like, in future turns. Like,
oh yeah, but I'm thinking is like Ant probably only needs one more Duchy, so like even if he has to buy a Duchy with debt on it, it's probably fine. Whereas McWaffle needs like a Duchy and a province.
Okay, that's fair. McWaffle just needs the province at the moment.
Yeah. I guess estate is an option for Ant here as well.
You are about to reshuffle though, and I don't think the estate makes the points difference. I could see estate. Taxing also seems fine.
Yeah, I think tax Duchy is reasonable there. Man, it'd be great if you had some extra coffers to afford some stuff.
I would pass Masquerade, maybe? The coffers will help you pay off the debt, and I don't want to pass the points.
Yeah, I like that.
It's
Yeah.
pass Masquerade.
As Ant, I'm just buying estates now, though. Like, this entire shuffle, I'm buying just every green card I see.
Yes, I agree. You have 49 cards left in your deck. You're never going to see the repercussions of putting estates in.
Yeah, like...
So Ant is up by 4 points. If they can get up to 33 points, which they could do in 2 turns buying estates, all of a sudden McWaffle can no longer win even buying that province. Because McWaffle's player 1, and if the score ends up being 33-33, at the end of McWaffle's turn, they lose.
Well, Ant can also... Yeah. Sorry, so Ant can also just, like, pop the Sinister Plot here, right? Like, Ant has the plot at 4.
Yeah, Ant's got a big plot turn.
I would just pass, I guess, Noble Brigand.
I like that. I would have passed Noble Brigand a long time ago.
I also would have just played Mountebank instead of playing Masquerade there. Passes Mountebank over Noble Brigand. All right, sure.
I don't understand that. Why do they want to keep a card that gives... I got nothing.
Yeah, me too. This game is still undecided for sure.
Yeah, I think a lucky draw could win it for McWaffle. I'm gonna say Ant is in the lead though, because that big plot is, you get one shot at it, but you get a good plot off, you got the game, I think.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Right. So I mean, McWaffle just plays Mountebank here. For some reason,
I'm back, and I'm seeing an Eminem reference in the chat. I like that.
all right. I want to pop the plot here as Ant. Like I think this is your moment right now. All right. You're gonna play the Masquerade. If you get a copper back, you win the game. So pass that curse. I assume McWaffle.
Ideally, if they knew, should pass Hamlet, but passing copper made total sense.
All right, that's a win right there.
So is that 4-2 final score? This is game 5.
This is game 5. Yeah, this is still game 5.
It's 3-2.
It's currently 3-2. All right, on to the last game.
So we could see a nice even 3-3 match here.
I believe we could. So Ant gets to go first too in the last game.
Well, I think first player advantage ends up being a little less significant in these games.
Yeah. At higher levels of play, first player advantage is very significant. There's a whole bunch of reasons for that. I don't think we need to necessarily get into. But in games that go longer, like the longer a game goes, usually the less important first turn advantages. So like in a 27 turn game, first player is probably not very significant. But if it's a quick game, like a good engine can be done in 10, 12, 13 turns, and all of a sudden that's 10% of the game is a turn.
Righty. So this actually does look money-ish to me. So you could technically draw with Lethal Howland acting troupe, and there's some synergy with Mill, but I think I'm predominantly playing money here.
I'm feeling Dutchy Duke on this board. Are you feeling Dutchy Duke?
I think probably. I definitely want amulet and some amulets and a relic.
I think I might be opening Baker Amulet here actually.
Baker before relic.
I know it's
Baker then a relic and then some more Baker.
I think opening Baker's a little spicy of a take, but I think I might actually do it.
What I was saying when I was talking about Candlestick Maker, I do like getting one Baker can be good kind of for the same reason that one Candlestick Maker can be good. Just having some coffers helps you smooth out your buys, hit the numbers you want to. Relic I think is in general the stronger part, and I want a relic before I get mass Bakers. But I can see an argument for one Baker before relic on those sort of coffers that are helpful for hitting the right numbers.
Yeah. So Amulet.
I'm actually Dutchy Duke because Mill I think is another card that's very good at a Dutchy Duke deck. Mill is not good at hitting big numbers, but it's good at reliably hitting 5. If you have a 5-card hand with a few green cards in it, you just discard those for +1 point each, and you're gonna hit 5 very often with them. So some Mills and the Dutchy Duke is also a good combination.
I think Amulet's actually a decent Dutchy Duke card enabler as well. So gaining silver is great for Dutchy Duke. Plus the ability to occasionally take the +1 coin when you need to hit 5, or if you already hit 5, you take a silver. Plus trashing estates is really good. Trashing copper is less important, But Trashing Estates is still pretty good. So I think Amulet does enough stuff that makes it pretty compatible with Duchy Duke.
Yeah, so I agree with that. I think I actually want to start greening pretty early on this board. 2 Amulets, Relic, and a Baker. You're actually probably going to hit 5 relatively reliably for quite a while. You miss it, you hit 4, you buy like a mill or something. And I want to get ahead on the Duchy split. Because if I can win most of the Duchies, I'm in a very good spot.
Yeah, so there's a couple things to think about with Duchy Dukes. If you're both going Duchy Duke, generally you just want to get as many Duchies as possible, right? Because if you win the Duchy split, like, you're going to win the game. If you're not contested, if you're going Duchy Duke and your opponent is going for like provinces, then you might want to consider, like, because once you have like 4 duchies, well, your next duchy is only worth 3 points, but your duke is worth 4 points, right? And so maximizing points kind of wants you to take some duchies and then like alternate duchy dukes. So there's some thought to be given with that, but generally, if you're contesting, just take as many duchies as you can, and then worry about dukes later. And yeah, Relic Amulet is probably like the real open. I'm still kind of thinking Baker might not be a terrible open. There are colony points. I don't really care about the colony points here. Like, I don't think they're really relevant. You probably get like a few of them by buying like mills or amulets or something. But like, yeah. But like, if I
I don't like that.
Oh yeah. The library open does not seem particularly good to me. No.
Yeah, strongly agree. Library does not seem good. So one argument, I guess, for greening a little later is, colony points aren't that insignificant. Something like maybe like a treasury or a baker or mills could set you up for that. I'm not sure how I balance that with Duchy Duke. Duchy Duke seems like the bigger priority. If you can score a not insignificant amount of points off in colony, you can get a few more actions to activate that.
Yeah, I think, like, I was just saying this before when you were gone, like, colony points are not a huge priority here, but, like, if you get, 4 colony points by buying, like, an amulet or a mill or something, like, that's fine. Like, if I lose the colony split 8 to 4, I'm not, like, particularly concerned about it.
I agree with that.
But it does look like they're both going provinces. Well, I don't know. McWaffle just has 8 colony points. McWaffle has 10 colony points.
I mean, I guess the mass treasury strategy, if nothing else, does help with that.
That's true, it does. Ant could buy an amulet here to take those last 2 colonnade.
That's an option. They don't want the 2 amulets.
I don't know. No, McWaffle has 2 amulets here.
Amulet's fine. If I'm Antconnect, I'm definitely playing Duchy Duke now, because, I mean, McWaffle's got the short-term lead, and I think the way you counteract that short-term point lead is to draw the game out. If you jump into provinces sooner, that favors the person who's taking points earlier.
Yeah. So there's a question about druids. I don't think druids. The problem with druid is you only have space for 1 terminal, and I think that terminal is just amulet. I don't think you have space in your deck for druids to do anything.
Yeah. So I mean, if you hit 2, I would take druid over faithful elm, estate, or nothing. It's gonna hit 2 too often.
It's really hard to hit 2 in a deck like this with amulets.
I agree. And on 3, I think amulet is fine. Or even maybe it's silver if you had too many amulets. I think 3 is a good number to amulet.
It depends on what stage in the game you're in. But amulet being
early and then 3 later.
So amulet being duration means you can take a couple more amulets than you normally could other terminal actions in a sort of money deck.
That's true. They line up a little bit more effectively.
Yeah, so like if you took like 2 early, you added a 3rd one, possibly you could add a 4th one like late in the game. But you'd have to like. I mean, once you have like maybe 2 or 3 amulets, I would just prefer mill to amulet like basically always. And then you prefer and then you prefer Duchy Duke to the mill anyway. So like it'd be only be something you consider on exactly 3 coins.
So it looks like Duke is not getting played here.
That's a shame. That is a shame. So I guess McWaffle is. I don't know who wins this game on provinces. I guess McWaffle still does.
I think it's anyone's game, but McWaffle's deck I think is slightly stronger.
McWaffle has. Yeah, probably.
You got 2 amulets early. They've been playing those for a while.
There's only 1 estate in the trash.
It's a good question. So 3 amulets have been taken very early on. Why is there only 1 estate in the trash? What are they even doing with it?
I mean, getting silver, like, again, getting silver is perfectly fine on a board like this if you're going Duchy Duke. Or even provinces, but, like, you still want to trash early. Like, you still want to trash your estates.
Unfortunately, the amulet players have just been playing it as, like, 1 point. It seems like frequently the worst use.
The only time on a board like this I would play amulet for +1 coin is when I desperately needed to hit a price point. Like, if I absolutely need to hit 5, if I have like amulet and 4 coppers, like, and I want to buy a duchy, like, okay, I'll take a coin. But it should be like only when necessary. Yeah.
Could be relevant. Early in the game, absolutely tracking first, then gain silvers.
Yeah. But definitely, like on a board like this, trashing copper is a little bit less of a priority, but you still definitely want to trash estates. Like estates are still just a really bad card.
Yeah, I agree. This is the Dominion League. This game is Dominion.
It was, I think it's a game designed by Donald X. Vaccarino, if I'm pronouncing correctly. It's like a card, like deck building kind of game.
No problem, glad we could help.
To actually answer your question, this is H League.
One of the 64 divisions of H League, I think.
Are there, how many H divisions are there? There's a lot. That game was over pretty quick. So McWaffle takes the final game to win the series 4-2. Congratulations, McWaffle. Yep, I got the video here, and so thank you all for sticking around. Thank you, Ant and McWaffle, for the match, and good luck in the future.